Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Oh my gosh, I'm still trying to arrange this. Let me turn off the music and make sure that I can hear myself. My voice is still hoarse because I haven't allowed it to rest. And y'all know I can talk. Okay. Even though my voice is already deep and broken. How you doing, Lions Time baby? 8955. How you doing? How you doing? I'm streaming this from two channels. Although one I will put on private. I'm gonna keep this up on my what is now the Lashid for You Receipts channel. Please check it out. I got three channels that I have open as of now. You always gotta have a backup channel. I realized up in here, but yeah, I have three channels. So please check out my. I gotta do type in my name and do a search. Hold on. I should on my channel. Give me a second. Let me close. I'm just closing some tabs here. Okay, I want to be able to monitor both channels. Make sure that you guys can hear me. Okay, all right. How y'all doing? Oh yeah, so I'm streaming this from two channels from my Sheet for You Random, which was my original channel that I was able to get back after it was removed years ago, not by my own means, but yeah. I now have named that Sheet for You Random, and the channel that I created after having my original channel terminated, Sheet for You. I've now renamed it Sheet for You Receipts. So please subscribe to that channel. Those are the two channels I'm streaming. Those are the channels I'm streaming from. Although I now have three channels open in total. Just type in Sheet for You using the same name. Okay. I got random receipts and refined. Those are the three channels. But I pinned in the chat room. If it says in the chat room, streaming from two channels, click on the link to be on the same chat room. Or I guess I meant in the same chat room. Sorry about that. Click that link and it'll take you to my other channel where I will be talking about more crucial and critical subjects. Okay, like this. I think this is a more, yeah, like where I'll be talking about history, especially history in relation, secular history, like in relation to the Bible. Like, let's say, if I want to talk about or do upload a video comparing, like, going over biblical anthropology in relation to secular anthropology, that's the channel to go to because I do want to get more serious up in here. Okay. So click on that. If you see in the chat room where it says click link to be on the same, well, I meant on the same channel or I meant to say in the same chat room. Click that link. Yeah. Yeah. Click on that link. Maybe I should copy. I meant to say in the same chat room. I don't like that. I got that misspelled here. Yeah, you should be able to click on that link so that we can all be on the same page. Being that I know I got some people that's over on this channel, I don't know why. I ask people, can y'all please just subscribe to the other channels and support us? But, well, hold on. So let me unpin the last message. Move. Yeah. So if it says in okay, if it says streaming from two channels, click link to be in the same chat room. I'd like for you to please click on that link. and be in that chat room and subscribe to that channel if you have not already. All right. However, if it says in the chat room, you're streaming from two channels, you are in the right chat room. Welcome. You're on the right page. And Lions Time Baby 9555, you're on the right page. Okay. All right. So let me go into it. I'm not prepared yet. See, this is my problem. I'm always responding to things on impulse. That's my problem. That's became my problem. I should not have ever been introduced to live streaming. It was so much better when I was making my videos. Although I really love having these more casual discussions with you guys that are not so scripted and pre-planned. And but the problem is, I'm a rather impulsive person who may find myself responding to things impulsively, like as soon as I'm like kind of triggered to. Well, maybe I shouldn't use the word triggered, or motivated to, or yeah. In this case, no, it's not about being triggered, it's about being motivated. Now you know that I am very fond of Truth Unedited, what he's bringing, what I believe and I definitely believe he's doing. I definitely believe that yeah, I will just say this. I definitely recommend this channel, as I've done many times before. Let me do a screen share. Truth Unedited. Subscribe to his channel. Subscribe. Yeah, yeah. And of course, now we are all just human beings up in here. We are all human beings born in sin, born in, imperfection. All right. We may not be right about everything. All right. We don't know everything because we're not right. We're not going to be right about everything. Okay. But, look at the fruit of the labor, and I do consider intentions, and you have to first and foremost, is that person coming from the scriptures? Is that person, you know, yeah, yeah. So also, whatever information that we share with you guys, persons like myself, Truth Unedited. Although I recommend the channel, but you always make sure to do your own research. Use your Yah given discernment. Okay, pray for discernment. Pray for to be led by the Spirit, the Holy Spirit or the Ruach. Okay, and do your own research. Don't just take my word for it, his word for it, because we're still just humans. Okay, and so I was just watching his video, Waking Up to the Truth. Yeah, I'm watching his more recent series, Waking Up to the Truth. I really recommend you guys subscribe to his channel and watch this series. And he has other series like the History of Religion, but I think you could check this one out. You could start even with this series right here, Waking Up to the Truth, that he's just because of course over time we may learn more information, and like may have been saying Jesus 5 years ago, may have been referring to the like let's say 5 years ago, more than likely I was just referring to the Messiah as Jesus, like let's say 10 years ago, and I've been up in here over 15 years. And I still believe in the Bible, but I no longer say Jesus because I have learned more, and we are supposed to learn, grow progressively, but still keep going in the same direction, right? Right? Okay. Yeah. It took 10 years ago, like it was a fact to me that the Messiah's name was Jesus. Although I knew I knew that could not have been his name in the original language, but there's even more so a reason why now I choose to say Yahushua instead of Jesus. Yeah. Yeah. So I would think it would be good for you to start watching this series here, which is a little more updated than even the History of Religion. And then you could go back to, his videos some years ago. But anyways, yeah, I'm listening. I'm watching this. I got to get into part 9 no. But yeah, and he's going into the beginning of okay, I was listening to part 8, the beginning of the nations of this Waking Up to the Truth series, right? And where he's going through the sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And now understand, so of course I was kind of compelled because there's been information up in here I've been wanting to go over and share for years, but I'm so caught up in all this other stuff going on in YouTube, whether it's the FBA versus this and that, the gender war, the colorism war, and then I have just over time so much information that I don't know, I've just gotten I've got like abundance of information, but it's like I don't know where to begin. So I just end up finding myself coming in here casually talking about it. And by the time I get around to this information that I've bookmarked or I've saved or I've put in notes, you know what I'm saying? I end up losing, or let's say if I bookmark, like, oh, I'm gonna come back and read this book, I'm gonna share it with you guys that I found, let's say like in Google Books, come back, being that it's been so long since I've talked about it and addressed it, I come back like a year later and it's gone. And this is what I found out now, because I realized that they are scrubbing the internet. They realize we do read and we are going to do some research. So the wicked powers that be that have control of over the medium/media, they are removing things that we were able to find up in here 10 years ago, like in their online libraries. And now I first got onto an online library even before Google Books when I went back to college over 10 years ago, over 15 years ago. I went back to college and we were able to have access to Hoover Books. I don't even know if that's still around. But yeah, the good thing is we do still have like JSTOR, Internet Archive, but I really, really had appreciated Google Books. I was able to find so much, because back in the day, you used to have to just straight up go to the library, go through the catalogs if you were interested. And if you were to pay for books, I'm telling you, you had to, certain books cost money. I mean, it's still like that now. And I'm so grateful to those up in here who have actually purchased very expensive books. Like, for instance, there's that Russian iconography book. Years before Vladimir Putin showed us what was in the vaults in Russia, the artwork in the vaults of Russia, showing how they depicted in their paintings centuries ago, how they depicted people who were spoken of in the Bible, like prophets, etc., and even the Messiah. Years before, Vladimir Putin revealed what was in the vaults, there were people, brothers and sisters, like I remember a brother he had purchased the book, The Russian Eye, and it's a very expensive book, but he was gracious enough to share, what was in the book with us, for free, I guess you could say. And I think that's really, I think that's very generous. May Yah bless those who are willing to share, and especially share what we really, the food that we need most of us. It's great to give and donate to charity. Yeah, also we need to consider those out here who may be right now going hungry, considering what's been going on. But it's even better. It's even better to share the spiritual food or even the secular food or secular information that can help, that will really enrich our faith in the Bible, the scriptures even more. Because there are people, they're not just they don't want to just hear it from the scriptures. They want secular, they want proof, they want scientific, they want historical journals, they want, okay, all right. They want archaeological journals and, and proof and evidence. Okay, all right. Yeah. So but yeah, now understand this. I love the fact that with Truth Unedited, he's not just talking about skin color and the flesh. It's not just about that with him, okay? He's not thinking on race and the way that we may be thinking on it. Although I may be coming from a little more of a secular, point in giving you the information and, what I'm saying, sharing the information that I have gathered. So I understand. So I may be wanting to, being that I'm still one who is caught up in the whole black versus white, and I can admit to that. Okay, I'm growing. I'm trying to grow, but I can admit that I am still caught up, in the discussion on politics and race and religion and all of that. All right, I can admit to that. Okay, but the thing is, I do know the truth. I know that, that I am supposed to be seeing myself more so as Yasharel, or a representative of Yah versus black. Okay, I know better. All right, so I'm not gonna act as if I don't know better. But let me share this information with you guys. Yeah, okay. So I'm kind of, you can see this is secular information, but I hope it also, like maybe it's secular information, but in relation to the Bible. Okay, so that's also I'm doing this also from 2 channels. All right, okay, yeah. So let me make sure with everybody. Okay, okay. It would be nice if it was more people, but that's okay. That's all right. Those who are here need to be here, and it's all good. Okay, so Truth Unedited is talking about the beginning of the nations, and in this video here, where he goes into and taking it to scriptures and how we should be referring to ourselves as a people if we're just talking lineage, right? If we're just talking human earthly lineage, all right? And like let's say if we're talking also in relation to geography, okay? It wasn't so much about geography as it was about lineage and yeah, and these names more than likely they were I believe that they were more than likely named after, and I'm talking post deluge, I'm talking after the flood, okay, civilizations, earthly civilizations, human civilizations after the flood, okay, and lineages after the flood, post flood, okay. Now we know of the story of Noah, his sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Let me just try to share some of the images that I have. I'm trying to, it's kind of freezing a little bit. Please, I just don't hope that the stream, y'all, you're not paying for this. And this little depiction I put together, my like sketched that image of Noah and his wife, right? Because it was supposed to be a part of the video series that I was supposed to be working on. So I sketched that, and just understand, I didn't know about AI and all that could help me out. So that image of Noah and his wife was sketched by me on the left. You know that I'm an artist. Now you may be wondering why I got Noah looking so white bright. Well, there's a reason. Those who may be familiar with the book of Enoch may have an understanding. I'm just but that shouldn't be the focus. All right. But if you know what the book of Enoch, you may understand why I have him. You may have an understanding why I have Noah, looking. I mean, you can still see, like Negro features, but of course, we don't know how he actually may have looked, but I just have a certain idea, and there's a reason why. Okay, but anyways, I believe that Shem, Ham, and Japheth. I've told you, I believe that, especially after doing more research, I believe that Shem, Ham, and Japheth. I believe that they were all rather melanated people who could perhaps have even been put in the anthropological category of Negro, maybe even, and even if they were not considered Negro, I definitely believe that they could have been categorized. Well, they definitely were darker people, and I believe that once upon a time they may have all originally even had curlier hair, Okay, but even if we're just talking about complexion, I believe that Shem, Ham, now this was something that the person formerly known as Thoughts Camera Action, I remember him putting this together, although I know that he is straight up flipped. Somebody who I once respected. This was his depiction of Shem. Yeah, I don't know if he was the one originally. Maybe he got this from somewhere else. The sons of Noah who fathered the nations, all the people on the planet. As he believes, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, the sons of Noah. Okay. Yeah, although we have been taught that Black people derive from Ham. Yeah. Now, understand, I am not trying to go against Truth Unedited or debate. Okay, he's just giving his information, and like he said, he can't say that he feels totally certain about, like when it comes to all of the nation. Like for instance, all of the descendants of Japheth. We don't really discuss descendants of Japheth, and it's the same for me. There are certain things, I can't say that I am like totally sure, but if I were to put two and two together with the information that I've gathered, I can make an assumption. So on certain things, now there are certain things that are crystal clear and they are obvious. And then there are certain things that we're still being that it's not as critical, we may not see it as critical to know. Like, it is critical that we know who we are as Yasharel, okay? Especially if we want to break the curses. All right. But some may believe it's not as critical to know the exact descendants of Japheth. But I do think that if we do know, and if we do have an idea, I think it actually strengthens your faith, and it gives you a better understanding of prophecy, and you're able to, you like, when I begin to learn more about who these nations may represent, especially like learning more about Esau, Edom, it was like, wow, I see. And that's how I really do. I find myself talking even more so about Edom. And even like when I learned about Nimrod years ago, and just learned more detail, unlike what I was just taught when I used to go to the Kingdom Hall with Monty. I remember there was just, a wicked king, or what was the story in my book of Bible stories when I first learned, and that was all that you learned. Because in the book of Genesis, in the biblical canon that we know of, the 66 books, it's very, very limited information on Nimrod. But this person, Nimrod, who was a descendant of Cush, who was a descendant of Ham, and obviously he was, quote unquote, what we would now call black, for sure. You will find how him and his mother/wife, or they've had a very major influence on. Some could say that him or his mother, they're like the parents of paganism. Okay, it's believed that some people believe that December 25th is Nimrod's birthday. Is actually his birthday, and he is the sun god. He is Baal. Oh, hey, you doing, Drea Lee? It's so nice to see you. Yeah. Oh, you both. Oh, I'm so glad to see your presence. Thank you for letting me know that you're just listening. Great to see your presence, dear. All of you. Yeah. But it actually, it's like when you learn these things, it's like you could take this as just secular information, or it's not all that important. Not that, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what race these people today would be put in it. No, but it's not even just about race. You do have an understanding that this is all very spiritual. Because like I tell you guys, I don't believe that Esau was originally the original white man. No, I believe that Esau, Jacob's brother, was black, or what we would call, I believe he, definitely melanated, even if he looked different. So you realize this isn't really about Esau and who Esau is. Edom. I'll say Edom. Okay, and when I'm talking Edom, I'm talking a mindset too. I'm not talking about all those who just happen to be descendants, who may be descendants of Edom. That could be many of us and don't even know it. But I'm just saying, that Edom mindset. Edom has convinced us, that it's all about black versus white, or white versus black, red versus blue, man versus woman, young versus old. Yeah, because and if we are the people to, if we are supposed to represent Yah, then Satan is he's gonna try to work through certain people as well. Okay. Also, you gotta say, if Yah is not the author of confusion, then who would be? That would be Satan the devil. And you can't have confusion without fusion. And Esau, I have learned, and this is what I want to talk about. Esau has been, when I've done my research, Esau is a traveling man. And when I say traveling man, what do I mean by traveling man? Well, there was a song. I remember, it was by Ricky Nelson, 1961. And I remember Paul Mooney joking on the song Traveling Man. But when you look, but Paul Mooney wasn't lying. When his song was from 1961, late Ricky Nelson. He's talking about how he got a pretty senorita waiting for him down in Mexico. I'm looking at the lyrics right now. He got a cute little Eskimo. He got a woman in Berlin. He got China, But Paul Mooney makes a joke. He started the part where he's whistling in the song. That's what he's talking about when he went through Africa. But he's joking, right? But he talking about he got a Polynesian baby. He got a woman here. He got a woman there. Think of when King Solomon had all them wives. That's what I was talking about with y'all at that time when I was talking about P. Diddy in the Been Around the World video. And basically that was and what P. Diddy was promoting. And if you notice in that Been Around the World video, I talk about this also in my series, The Downfall of, or responding to the series, The Downfall of Dark-Skinned Black Woman. That my response series to that. And I talk about when P. Diddy and the Been Around the World video, and if you look, he's traveling over, like Africa, like going over like Egypt, and and even if you look in the video, it's kind of like a Moroccanist kind of theme. And then there's this beautiful woman with her bright skin, Jennifer Lopez. She's like this Turkish, kind of almost like representing the Turkic woman that the Moor had a thing for, But the only reason I'm mentioning that, and I talked about how, with P. Diddy and the promotion of, and also I remember I talked about Jay-Z's video, girl. This was all during the bling era of the late 90s and early 2000s of hip hop. The bling era is about leveling up. And part of leveling up is, we've got to be a traveling man, because that's what I got to have women all around the world. I got to plant my seed all around the world. And remember, because around that same time, the bling era in hip hop, you had Jay-Z had a video, girls, where he's got a girl here and he's got a girl, he talking about all the females he got all over the world, a French girl, the girl in the ghetto, a girl in the, right. So Esau, and the scriptures, speak about Esau, and perhaps let's go to it, because I know even though I'm talking more and, let me see, Obadiah. But let me get more exact. Well, you know what? Actually, not just Obadiah. Let's go to Jeremiah. Well, let me see. Jeremiah 49. And this is something in my research I realized Esau's been everywhere our people, especially where our people have been oppressed. Just as our people have been scattered, especially more specifically Judah, the descendants of Esau just happen to be. And I'm not trying to put down, I'm not saying it, I'm mainly talking about those who are who are in more positions of power, or they just got that Edomite men that because if you got to understand, Edom from the very beginning, he was not about, that's why his parents, more specifically Rebecca, were disappointed in the wives that he chose. Now, is it just about, they were racist, as we would say now? No, but these, they probably all look the same. They probably were all black, although I do question, the wives who may have, the Hivite or Horite wives, how they may have looked. And I may go into that in another live stream, as I talked about. Well, just check out my last live stream on the Horites on my sheet for you receipts channel. But yeah, he from his parents were disappointed in him. It wasn't about what these women having a different complexion. It wasn't about they probably some of the women may have had the same exact complexion as him, because I do believe that the majority of people on the planet, or the original people, were definitely melanated. Okay, even those who are atheists and follow anthropology, even though they all try to teach you this was millions and millions of years ago. But yeah, I definitely believe the what we see even as the white race is a comparatively recent new race, although ancient. Okay, although I believe ancient, but in comparison. Okay, yeah, it wasn't about that. It's just that these women, these people were into paganism. They were into they didn't worship the Most High Yah. Now, of course, we didn't have Israelites yet, or what we would now maybe call Israelites, or those of Yasharel yet, because Jacob's name, Jacob's name was not yet changed to Yasharel. Okay, he didn't have all of his children yet. Okay, but yet still it was it was intended for him. His parents wanted for him to marry of his people those who obviously knew of the Most High Yah and were more likely to serve the Most High Yah. Whereas it was known that these Canaanites, definitely these specific descendants of Ham, that they were very much into paganism, very much into idolatry and all that. Okay, maybe there was something also more to it, but yeah, I don't think it was just about what we think when we think today of the concept, because the concept of race, even, it is so it's really, really recent. It's really, I'm talking not even, I don't even think it's 500 years old, really. Yeah, so let me go to the book of Jeremiah. And see, we know, hold on. Go to the book of Jeremiah. Not really prepared. Yeah, and I'm led by the Spirit, but okay, where are we? And talking about, okay, so I'm in the book of Jeremiah, and I'm going to be reading King James Version, so I may use some terms like God or Lord or, and just, for the sake of us all understanding and being on the same page, although I'll try to, Okay, so going at verse in chapter 49, going down to verse 7 in the book of Jeremiah, it reads, concerning Edom, thus saith Yahuwah of hosts, is wisdom no more in Teman? Is counsel perished from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? Flee ye, turn back, dwell deep, O inhabitants of Dedan, for I will bring calamity, the calamity of Esau upon him, the time that I will visit him. If great gatherers come to thee, would they not leave some gleaning grapes? If thieves by night, they will destroy till they have enough. But I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places. He shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. Okay. So that's just the part I wanted to read. Now, why does it say, oh yeah, by the way, I want you to know, Teman, I've looked it up and I've shown you guys, I believe I've shown y'all before that Teman and Yemen, just like think the country of Yemen, even though our people, Yahuda, Yashura, we were in Yemen, by the way, what is now Yemen, but it is named after, believe it or not, Yemen, and I believe Eritrea, these countries around the Red or Edom Sea. And I'll show you why I'm saying this. A lot of these countries, I definitely believe, even East Saudi Arabia, a lot of these countries around the Red Sea are named now after Esau. And remember, there's a reason also why I said that, I don't feel comfortable saying Jesus anymore, even for the sake of us all understanding, because I had found out with Jesus, but that's another discussion. But yeah, Teman, Yemen. Okay, but yeah, concerning Edom, all right, if you says how it said going down to verse 10, but I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren, and his neighbors, and he is not. So why is it saying that Esau is being bare as if he's, like he's exposed, like he's tried, almost like he's been trying to cover himself or do something in secret? And remember, occult means secret. Why is it saying that Esau's, being exposed and he shall not be able to hide himself? His seed is spoiled. Now, why is it saying his seed is spoiled? What does that mean? And his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. Now, as pointed out, Esau, from the beginning, Esau, whose name was changed to Edom, Edom meaning red, Esau was always about mixing. We ain't just talking race. I'm just talking about marrying foreign women. And it seems as if, from what I have found out, he'll link up with foreigners. And it just seems like this is a continuation throughout history. He will link up with foreigners, intermarry with them, marry their daughters, and then take on their identity, the identity of these other groups of people. This is something I've noticed with, and doing, I've been, for years now, I've been tracking Esau or Edom, since he's been Edom, long removed from Esau. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking with the Horites. I believe that they may represent the original white race, but Horites synonymous with Hivites. But they may not be the only ones that may have Nephilim roots, if you know what I'm saying. But yeah, it's obvious. Yeah, it's right. Active rebellion. He's always been about. He's been a traveling man. You know what I'm saying? He's a traveling man, planting his seed everywhere. But see, this is what Esau does. This is what, now, if you were to, now, okay, Encyclopedia Britannica and all these sources now, including, Wikipedia, they can't deny that they are not denying that the Edomites or the Edomians, spelled with an I, refer, as the Romans and Grecians referred to them, they can't deny that they existed. They can't deny that. However, if you were to look in secular history and in these sources, secular sources, they'll make it seem as if they are a civilization or people who no longer exist. Like during perhaps ancient biblical times. Yeah, same with the Hittites, and even though they can't deny that these people did exist, right? They can't deny that. But see, it's not even so much. And we can say, well, if they mix with so many people, then how can we say that they still exist? Wouldn't they be diluted out now? It's not so much about the bloodline as it is about that almost like that spirit still. You know what I'm saying? That's lingering. And I'm not trying to put down all of those who may be descendants of Esau. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about that Edomite, that spirit. You understand what I'm saying? That hatred against Jacob that is carried on and continued. That hatred. But we are not told to hate our brother, right? But we do need to be aware. Yeah, so let me see. Also, now we know, like, now this is just a little concoction, like I put together Jacob. Oh gosh, it's not coming up. See, it's freezing again. Every time I try to click on it, it just freezes up. Oh, okay, there it is. This is, I kind of put together. Well, I took also, I took that. These like that image of Jacob was already, like an image. I don't know if somebody created an AI, but I put the little background with the tent and stuff. Whereas with the Esau, I kind of took a person's face, like how I would picture. Now, yes, he is described even at older as being hairy. When his father, saying he's a rough man and everything, even when he was an adult. We've talked about what was actually meant by ruddy. Okay, ruddy just meaning brown, like a reddish brown. Okay, like Edom, earth, red, brown. But his name Esau was changed to Edom, meaning red. It was also about that red pottage that he that was described as the meat, the lentil soup or whatever that he had ate. That he was willing to even give up his birthright for. But there's a lot more to that story. If you believe that what's put in the book of Jasher about him in relation to Nimrod, if you believe that to be true, there's a lot more to that. I do believe that Not saying that I'm totally, yeah, I can't wait to get to Truth on Edit's next video. Maybe I should have listened to it before coming up in here, but I was just so eager to respond because I'm really, yeah, these are things I'm really into. Yeah, so yeah, but again, let's go to, let me see. And talking about, oh, it's just so sad it's not as many people up in here. But that's all right. We go to the book of Obadiah. To the book of Obadiah. I guess I'm trying to, like, maybe stay with the King James Version. Okay, Obadiah. Let me see. We're in chapter 1. Now, remember these things now. The vision of Obadiah. Thus saith the Lord God, or Yahuwah Elohim concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from Yahuwah, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Now, usually the heathen, in the scriptures, the heathen usually reference the Gentile nations, particularly those of the Isles of the Gentiles, like of Japheth. I know we hear heathen and we automatically think that's a bad word, but or that's something degrading, but that was the term that was used. Okay, the vision of Obadiah. Thus saith Yahuwah Elohim concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from Yahuwah, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise thee, and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. So even though the descendants of Edom, they're just, they're a very small population among these heathen nations, like these Gentile nations. And even though they're, very few, they end up being despised, hated by these nations. But somehow they end up blending in, and this is something I noticed, and they end up rising to a position of power. Because I noticed that they're very good at, forgive me for using this term, but they're good at kissing up the people, getting in favor. Like if you believe the story that is in detail in the book of Jasher on Zepho and the ruler of Italia and how he was able to gain the favor. It's like they'll be suppressed under the group of people, right? Like let's say Gentiles or Hamites, but then somehow they blend in with these people, and then they get it. And this even happened in ancient Egypt. Yes, there were Edomites influenced who were very who had fused in, yes, with the ancient Egyptians. Yes. Okay, so it said, behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thank you for being understanding, Drea. Thou art greatly despised. The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee. Talking about Edom. Thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock. Remember this. Whose habitation is high. That saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle. Remember that now. And though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith Yahuwah. Let me jump down to verse 6. How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? All the men of thy confederacy, like all the people he's teamed up with. Where do we talk about that? Was that hold on. Yeah, I'm sorry. Psalms. Yes, like Psalms 83. Psalms 83. Let's go over that real quick. Remember I told y'all that, or I showed y'all that Arab just basically means Arab, it just basically means I don't mean to keep jumping from scripture to scripture, but ooh, I gotta burp. I'm just hoping it don't come out while I'm talking. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Remember where it said here, and we're gonna jump back. We're gonna jump back, but let me go to this real quick. I told y'all that Arab, it just basically means mixed. Yeah, air, like right here. Okay, the beginning, it's when and how. Okay, you see this? Now this is a book. You can see here from 1871, Bible and Science, the beginning, it's when and how by Mungo Ponton. Okay, and in this book, you see here on page 557, it says the same but pronounced erev occurs in the original sense derived from the verb in Exodus. That's 12, yeah, 1238, where it is applied to a mixed multitude. And the name Arab from the same radical was given to the inhabitants of the desert because they were a mongrel race. And remember, I showed you also in a more updated, I showed you that Arab basically just means mixed. Remember, I showed y'all that, right? It basically, that's what it originally means. Even though now they'll say it means nomad, wanderer. Originally, like in the Bible, Arab referred to mixed, not just Ishmael. Some people believe, they think Ishmael. No, what it is that Esau has also mingled with the Edomites, the Ammonites, other Shemitic groups, the children of Lot, to form like this confederacy. Now, of course, originally now he intermarried with certain Canaanites or just took on Canaanite wives. So initially, and then eventually, yeah. And he's went beyond that. He's mixed with just about everybody on the planet, to go against us, to keep us oppressed. And they're always instigating. They've been the ones like kind of instigating, turning other groups of people against us. And think about it. Think about who you think might have been the ones who got in the Egyptians or the descendants of Mitzrayim's ear. These people, they kind of growing in number in the land of Goshen. Think about it. Who might have been the Hyksos? I want us to explore into that. Who do you think might have been the? And I looked through history. Oh my gosh. And I realized these people have been just instigating. Just instigating throughout history. Just turning every kingdom, every ruler against us. I'm telling you. But yeah. But they'll act like, but eventually those people figure them out and see how they've been damaged, and then it's almost like aliens, like they just destroy this planet and move to the next after they cause chaos and destroy, and then they move to the next. But yeah, okay. Yeah, it says, okay, where am I? No, I'm all over the place now. But yeah, Arab basically means, yeah. So some people just think that they're the Ishmaelites, but look here. These, I believe, the original Arabs. The tabernacle, okay, and we're in Psalms chapter 83. The tabernacles of Edom, the Ishmaelites, okay? These are also descendants of Abraham, the Ishmaelites, Abraham with his Hagar, the Egyptian maidservant when he, who had a child with. All right, the Ishmaelites. The tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites of Moab and the Hagarenes, Gebal and Ammon and Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre, Ashur, and I believe Ashur may be the father of the Syrians, also joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot, Selah. Now, and it's interesting, people are talking about, what's going on in Nigeria with Christians and this and that. Yeah, we talked about a couple of years ago, the Igbo people being oppressed by the Hausa and the Fulani. Um, who do you think? Now, it's been said that it's believed that the Hausa, and these are black people, as a Fulani, it is believed that the Hausa, some believe that they are descendants of the Assyrians, and the Fulani, I definitely believe that they have some Edomite in them. Definitely. Um, yeah. But anyways, the tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites of Moab and the Hagarenes, Gebal and Ammon and Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre, Ashur is also is joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot, Selah. Do unto them as unto the Midianites, as to Sisera, as to Jabin at the brook of Kison, which perished at Endor. They became as dung for the earth. Make their nobles like Oreb and like Zeb, yea, all their princes as Zebah and Zalmunna, who said, now understand, because these people have all together, these people that have been listed, these people initially came together and, but notice Edom's name is said first. So probably more than likely he was the primary instigator. Okay. Because some of these people, many of these people named are descendants of Shem. Some of them being descendants of Abraham, even. Some of these people are Hebrew, even. Esau, Edomites were originally are Hebrew, right? Or descendants of Eber. But also with certain children of Ham at that time. This is before they kind of expanded, mingling with this is before they start mingling with the descendants of Japheth. So long before they start mingling with those of Asia and Eurasia. They were already, like we always talk about the Arabs, people like, why don't people talk about the Arab slave trade or talk about so there was already a conspiracy against our people more specifically, okay, which is really more of a spiritual war, going against the Most High Yah. This is really just the work of Satan using different people, okay? But there is hope for all people. Understand this. There's hope for all people. We just got to see what's been happening. Okay. Again, it said, all these people who have came together, it says going down to they said, let us take to ourselves the houses of God. Wait, what version is this? What? Because I just want to read from the version I'm usually. Yeah, they have, look, it says, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee, going up to verse 2, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. Now, who are they people? Yasharel. They said years ago, this was in the works years ago. Let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Yasharel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are a confederate against thee. Think of confederacy. The Confederates. The tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites, Moab. These are the earlier people. Okay, the earlier people. They didn't care about whose skin color. If we had the same skin color, that didn't matter. Because it wasn't about that. It was not about that originally. Okay? They have just over time, they was like, how do we get these barbarians that we're having issues with? They've already they had trashed our civilization that we had established, Rome and the Grecian and Greco-Roman Empire had ended, and now we're in these dark ages. How do we get? Oh, we're gonna make it a white-black thing. Now, kind of began, even though they didn't quite really, get it down, but it began with the rebirth, the Renaissance. But there were things already in effect. Going back to the Crusades. Going back to like the 11th century. That's why do you think the Renaissance era was, there was all this focus on art? Because that's when they really start repainting and giving you, they understood the power of media and art and imagery. That's why they really did all these paintings. And yeah. Oh yeah. And when you learn about these people, certain Freemasons, like a leader of the Confederate, Albert Pike, renowned Freemason, okay, who some believe is behind the KKK. Is it a coincidence the costume that they wear with the KKK? It's very similar, even though these are supposedly Protestant people. We all know that Albert Pike was actually a Luciferian, but kind of going. I believe a white guy on YouTube was disagreeing with me. Like, no, I can show you the proof. But see, you think Spain, Holy Week, you think Catholic. That doesn't make sense, right? If the KKK are Protestant, why would they be taking on a... Come on now, because it's not about what we think it's about. But anyways, I know I'm getting all over the place. But yeah, going back to it says, but I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered in chapter 49, is it verse 10? But I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places. He shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. So the thing is that, and what was the other scripture I was reading you after that? The thing is that Esau has been mingling with other groups of people, whether black, white, whatever, it doesn't matter, as long as they're in some position of power, worldly power, which is, given by the devil. And he has yeah. Okay, we read, let me see. But remember what it says, and just remember this. Thus saith like what we were reading here in the book of Obadiah, chapter 1, the prophecy towards Edom. Verse 4, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith Yahuwah. Okay? Let me see. Jump to verse 6. How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? See, that's what we're doing now. We're digging it up, exposing Esau. All the men of thy confederacy. Notice that confederacy is always being used. Also, notice how in the scriptures, like in Genesis, Esau's sons, his descendants, are referred to as dukes. Some of his descendants are referred to as dukes. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee, that they that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. Yeah, so yeah, it goes more. You definitely read on the prophecies against and it is. Well, I could go into Obadiah, but I don't want to go into that right now. But yeah, these are things to just remember this. Remember this. Remember this. So I want to go into, and like I said, Esau is a traveling man, and he has been. I'm going to tell you, I do believe that E1B1B, what was referred to as E1B1B, I do believe that if we were just to going, I do believe that is the Y DNA haplogroup. or the original Y DNA haplogroup. And I'm not saying that every person who is of E1B1B, like every person of Somalia, every person, I don't believe that they're bad or they got, even know anything about. I'm talking about, it's almost like that energy that almost like the hatred that care. But you got to understand, they have mingled with other groups of people, and there's a certain group of people who are descendants of Edom, although they're very much mixed. Okay, that definitely seem to have an influx. But anyways, yeah. So let's just learn real quickly about the Phoenicians. Now, I'm giving you a wiki quickie. The Phoenicians were an ancient Semitic people who inhabited states. Okay, in Canaan. Just give you an AI overview. Along the Levantine coast of the eastern Mediterranean, primarily in present-day Lebanon and parts of coastal Syria. Their maritime civilization expanded and contracted over time, with its cultural core stretching from Arwad to Mount Carmel. Okay, and if I'm to go like to Britannica, I'll try to hurry this up. Now, we usually, when we think Phoenician people, we automatically think Canaan, right? And I'm not denying that they are, that they're not descendants of Canaan. I'm not denying that. Okay, but I think there's, like I said, Esau's a traveling man. Phoenicia, ancient region along the eastern coast of the Mediterranean that corresponds to modern Lebanon, with adjoining parts of modern Syria and Israel. Its location among major trade routes led its inhabitants, called Phoenicians, to become notable merchants, traders, and colonizers in the first millennium BC. That's a long time ago. The chief cities of Phoenicia, excluding colonies, included Byblos, Sidon, Tyre, and Berat, or modern Beirut. Now, wasn't let me see, the Zidonians, weren't they of Tyre? Now, the designation of Phoenician or Greek Phoenix is not known to have a reflex native to the Phoenicians. They typically identified themselves by their city-states, and it is uncertain whether they ever considered themselves a common people. The Armana letters addressed to the Egyptian court in the 15th century BCE by Phoenician and other rulers in their vicinity make reference to Canaan. Okay, Kiana, Kinahi, a region roughly corresponding to Phoenicia. The oldest form of government in the Phoenician cities seemed to have been kingship, limited by power of the wealthy merchant families. Federation of the cities on a large scale never seems to have occurred, although the cities at times fell under common rule as vassals of adjacent empires. Okay, yeah, so it goes on and on. Let me jump down to here. Yeah, they were very much known for trade. They were very, good traders, really good at trade. Just remember that. Okay, let me jump down. Phoenicians were well known to their contemporaries as sea traders and colonizers. Okay, remember that. And by the second millennium, they had already extended their influence along the coast of the Levant by a series of settlements, including Joppa or Jaffa, now part of Tel Aviv, Yaffo, Dor, Acre, and Ugarit. Colonization of areas of North Africa, Carthage, Anatolia, Cyprus also occurred at an early date. Carthage became the chief maritime and commercial power in the Western Mediterranean. And several smaller Phoenician settlements were planted as stepping stones along the route to Spain and its mineral wealth. Phoenician exports included cedar and pine wood, fine linen, etc., etc., etc. Okay. Oh yeah, and remember, notice that clothes dyed with the famous Tyrian purple. Understand, purple was a color associated with royalty. And of course, we know purple is like a combination of primary colors, blue and red, right? Red and blue, right? Purple was now, I took up a course, being that I was in fashion design and also got my degree in merchandise management in relation to fashion. Purple, as we were taught, it was a color of royalty. It was a color, the reason it was also associated, one of the reasons it was associated with royalty was because it was it was expensive to have things that were purple, you know. Yeah, you think purple rain as in kingdom, and purple rain, RAIN, and purple rain as in REIGN. Yeah, it was because it was, you know, they didn't, it cost money to create those colors, you know. So it was like the very rich were able to have, you know, like clothing of purple, dyed in purples, you know. Now, you know, we got clothes and all kind of purples and pinks, and but back then, you know, you didn't really see people walking around with all the neon colors and this and that. But yeah, so purple, that's one of the reasons why uh oh yeah, yeah. Oh, I took a course in design fundamentals. And so that was a good thing, because also I have an understanding of color symbology. That's where you gotta look at these things, the colors. There's a reason why for the thumbnail of this live stream I said, I'm not going to just get a red phoenix. I want to get a red phoenix that's kind of a combination of blue and red. I just want you to know. But yeah, usually we think the colors, you know, we think red, because Edom is red. Red. It's no coincidence. Rome, red, you know. Yeah, but also, and maybe the blue, it kind of represents, maybe we could see it as the nations that have intermingled, you know, with with um you know, I don't know. Yeah. But like we know, just like when we think Democrat, Republican, same evil bird, just two separate wings, but same evil bird. Okay. Um but yeah, oh yeah, you gotta understand, these people who are into occultism, occult just means hidden, secret. So these people of these secret societies and all these people that are into gematria and all this, you know, occultism, you got to understand symbology and colors and all that. It is not just, it means something. There's a lot of meaning behind it. Okay, there's a lot of meaning behind it. All right. So let me just go a little now. The Canaanites. Now, yeah, we think of the Phoenicians. We know that they were obvious. It's too much evidence to show that they were descendants of Canaan. We know that, but I believe that they were also descendants of Esau. What became the Phoenicians? Now, the Canaanites. I remember when I first asked my grandma, not my grandma, my auntie. Well, my grandma and my auntie on my mom's side, they were both Jehovah's Witness. They became like, even though my mom never became one, but they became Jehovah's Witness like sometime in the 70s, well after my mom was an adult. My mom just grew up going to, I believe, you know, like church, like a Baptist church, but you know, but she didn't really, yeah, she never. But what I had initially learned, I remember when I was a child or a kid, I just remember asking in the 80s, asking my auntie, you know, about the Canaan, because they were always talked about in the Bible. You know, they were, you know, like not favorably, like in relation to the Israelites. Like they were almost like some of the initial enemies of you know, for one, being in the land that was promised to the Israelites. And they were always going to, you know, seem to be battling the Canaanites. So whenever you heard that "ite," that suffix "ite," and let's go into let's talk about the Oh wait, I think I got it up. I think I already got it up. And we can also talk about also the descendants of Edom. I think I already got the scriptures up. I got so many tabs up. Ugh. Okay. So we know that Noah. Let me get this in order because I'm so out of order, so disorganized. So we know that Noah, where's a little depiction put together, had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Okay. And they each had wives. And so after the flood, after the deluge, and they came out of the ark, they eventually, you know, had children. Well, now definitely the nations were, some believe that, like the Pangea theory, and that could have been, I just never really looked into that at one time all of these continents were like connected, weren't so divided by the waters like that. I believe, yeah, the Bible does speak of the nation, like kind of like the world being divided around the time of Peleg. But also, we got to consider with the story with the Tower of Babel, although it doesn't go that much in detail in the biblical canon, the 66 books that we know of. But there are other books that have been said to have been separated from the scriptures. That go a little more in detail. But yeah. Shem, Ham, and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and from them the whole earth was populated, and eventually the earth was divided. It's believed, and their descendants spread through different parts of the earth. Now, at the time of the Tower of Babel, they were made to the angels. Yah caused them to speak different languages. Because that's another thing too. For people who talk about evolution, like why do we have all these different languages? That's why they have to convince you that we were here millions and millions and millions of years. Because then in them saying that, it can make you believe, well, it's possible over time that there were all these different, But anyways, I'm reading Genesis chapter 10, King James Version. Now, these are the generations of the sons of Noah: Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood, the sons of Japheth: Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Javan, and Tubal, and Meshach, and Tiras. And the sons of Gomer: Ashkenaz, and Riphath, and Togarmah. And the sons of Javan: Elisha, and Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. By these were the isles of the Gentiles. Okay, so these were the descendants of, they saying, so usually when Gentiles are mentioned, it's not just people who are not of Yasharel. It's more specifically these descendants, usually speaking of these descendants of Japheth that populated, mostly they, think Europe, most of, well, eventually they expanded more into Western Europe, but like think of the Mediterranean, think of, and parts of Eurasia and Asia. Okay. So by these were the isles of the Gentiles, divided in their lands, every one after his tongue. Okay, language is it's first and foremost in identifying people, not skin color, but language, after their families and their nations. And the sons of Ham, Cush. Okay, now the sons of Ham. Now we have been taught that, just like when I went to the Kingdom Hall with my book of Bible stories, and they had their little Bible production movie they put together that I saw in the 80s from Jehovah's Witness. They always had it like Ham was that one black son that black people come from, right? That's what we were initially, I was taught, right? Even though they didn't exactly say all that, but I remember they had a little movie. They had Ham as a black man, right? So we were supposed to believe that black people only came from Ham, or what we see today as black. Okay, now in the sons of Ham, Cush being synonymous with Ethiopia, and Mitzrayim, that's Egypt, and Put, Egypt and Philistines, and Put. I believe that Put or Punt, I believe that they may be like, because I'm wondering, did the Moors come from, were they from Put or Canaan, or maybe even, descendant of Shem? But Put, okay, some have said Libya, and some say Somalia, and some say both. I'm not sure. And Canaan. Now, Canaan is, very interesting in Canaan. Okay, and all right, so let me jump down. I'm going to jump down. And understand, Cush begot Nimrod. All right. And it just says in verse 8, I'm jumping down to verse 8, Cush begot Nimrod. Verse 9, he was a mighty hunter before Yahuwah, where it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before Yahuwah. Okay, and they talk about his kingdoms. And I'm jumping down. I'm going to jump down to Canaan. And Canaan begot Sidon, his first son, and Heth, and the Jebusite, and the Amorite, and the Girgasite, and the Hivite, which is synonymous Horite, and the Archite, and the Sinite. Now, some people believe the Chinese may have came from the Sinite or the Sinim people, and the Arvadite, and the Zimmerite, and the Hamathite, and afterward were the families of the Canaanites spread abroad. Notice it says specifically, yeah, they were spread abroad. It doesn't give you nowhere specific. Just say the families of the Canaanites were spread abroad. And the border of the Canaanites was from Sidon, and thou comest to Gerar unto Gaza, as thou goest unto Sodom and Gomorrah and Admah and Zeboim, and even unto Lasha. Okay, and these are the sons of Ham after their families, after their tongues, in their countries, and in their nations. Okay, so yeah, when you hear that "ite," you hear that "ite." I mean, not all the time, but because you also got Israelite, but I prefer to say just Yasharel. But a lot of times you hear that "ite," and when you're reading that, like when you're young and you're reading it, it's like, oh gosh, all these details. Why is it like in the Book of Chronicles? And so begot so and so. So it could be like kind of tiring. But now I realize this is all here for a reason. That's why I know too that this is not fiction. No fictional book is going to be this detailed and chronicled. Okay, these are journals. This is history. Okay. Nothing fictional is going to give you all these details. So and so begot so and so. This is for a reason, because you got to understand maps, names have been changed. Maps have been changed. Okay. Just like with this whole concept of race and this confusion. Yeah, part of the fusion agenda. But remember those names, because understand their names have been changed over time. Some names have been very much preserved in certain lands. So you can always go back in Genesis and in these books to reference. But yeah, okay. So now what my auntie told me when I was a kid, my auntie being a Jehovah's Witness and everything, and she's learned from the Watchtower, yeah, and all the publications they produce. And not saying that, I'm glad that I studied with Jehovah's Witnesses. I still learned a lot of things from them, although I went kind of beyond that now. But and I realized they weren't right about everything. I mean, no one is, but I do still appreciate what I learned now. My auntie, she was like, I'm pretty sure the Canaanites were white. That's what she first told me, that the Canaanites were white. And then, there are those who believe that the Canaanites were white, especially if considering that they were descendants of Ham, right? That would make sense. So I do believe they were. And let me read from this site here. Now, I just read to you in Britannica. Now, so yeah, if they were descendants of Ham, oh yeah, they were definitely originally, I would believe, black people. Now, some people believe that the curse of Cain, that that's the same as like Cain is like an extension or continuation, even if they're not exactly related. But they're an extent. The Canaanites are an extension of Cain, and that mark that was put upon Cain. Now, this was before the flood. Adam and Eve's first son. Who committed the first act of murder in unaliving his own brother Abel. Some believe that the mark of Cain was actually white skin, and then some have taught, that it was black skin. But I don't know about all that. But I do believe that, and some people may think that the curse, what it was, that exact curse that was on Cain, But I believe that this is my belief, that the original Canaanites were black people. Now, Thoughts, Camera, Action saying he believed that the Canaanites are Africans. I believe that the Africans are not just Canaanites. I believe you also have the Cushites, and I do believe they're still descendants of Mitzrayim. I believe that the descendants of Ham are still very much in Africa, along with certain descendants of Shem. But yeah, so I definitely believe that. But let me read from this site here. Where's the site I got open? Yeah, because some people, now I noticed that he spoke of, I definitely believe that the descendants. Oh wait, let me move this. I definitely believe that the San people, now they've kind of combined it, Khoisan. I believe that they are descendants of Ham. I don't believe they were the first humans. I do not believe that. I think they just, evolutionists just need them, and to go, they perfectly go along with their theory. And being that they are very indigenous people. but they could use the Khoi, like the Khoi and San people, what we used to call San Bushmen, they kind of made it one now, Khoi and San. But they are very indigenous people. I believe that they are descendants of Canaan. Now, Truth Unedited said that he believed that they may have mixed in with, have some European mixed. I don't believe that. I believe the reason that people have been saying that is because they're okay with those that they happen to have tested and placing them, given DNA tests. Okay, and they're primarily in the A haplogroup and its subgroups, right? Like A00. And I'm talking, when I'm talking about haplogroups, I'm going to only be referencing the Y DNA or the paternal haplogroups, the father, the male haplogroups. Okay, that's what I'm going to mainly be referring to. Okay, because that's what I've just been focusing on. Okay, yeah, they are so they put them as an A haplogroup, like they're representing the first hint. Yeah, but however, with with those that they have tested, given DNA test to, there are, though they've been found quite a few with like maybe up to 10% E1B1B, and I do not believe that E1B1B. Okay, I do not believe that originated with any Europeans. Has it been spread into Europe? Yes, it was said that HITLER was of E1B1B. That don't mean that it was originally, because remember what I told you. I believe that E1B1B was originally, this is my belief, Esau. And it's very obvious that E1B1B is brother to E1B1A. And we know E1B1A is definitely the Negro male. Okay, we definitely know that. All right, I think that's also why they are now changing the lettering and the numbering of these haplogroups. Have you not noticed that? Especially as we've been talking about this more. And it's just causing more confusion. But yeah, no, E1B1B did not originate in Asia or Eurasia. No, it spread into it. So it's the other way around. Okay. Yeah, but yeah, I do believe that these people may be descendants of Canaan. I could be wrong, but I definitely believe they're obviously descendants of Ham. And they may have a little Shemitic, like Edomite, Esau. Yeah, people thinking, because they need an explanation, how these people have lighter skin. And yeah, but they also have very, very tightly coiled hair. They may have the lightest skin of the indigenous people on the African continent. They tend to have the lightest skin. Like, and also certain, if you notice, South Africans, and I'm not talking about the coloreds, I'm not talking about the mixed ones. If you notice, a lot of South Africans, also have skin that's somewhat lighter. And this is not about necessarily racial mixing. No, definitely not in the, yeah, actually, the darkest of people in Africa, the darkest people are actually north. Actually, they're actually, I'm talking indigenous people. They're actually like above, what we consider sub-Saharan Africa, like when you consider those in the Sudan. And speaking of, I do believe that the Dinka, I believe that these are also may be descendants of Canaan, as well as a combination of Canaan and Cush. A lot of the people of the Dinka. There are also many of the A haplogroup as well, but I don't think it's just the A haplogroup. Yeah, I believe that these may be some of them, like descendants. Some of these Nilotic people, like particularly the Dinka, may be descendants of Canaan and fused also in Cush, along with the pygmies of the Congo. I believe they're also, understand, they were different. If we're going to talk about the Canaanites that are more pure blood, original, yeah, I believe that these people also. I believe also not just those are the A haplogroup, but I also believe that I kind of question R1B. The Oldimi people, R1B. Yeah, usually we think R1B and all of its subgroups, we usually think Europe, don't we? We think white people when we think of the R haplogroup and like R1B. But guess what? 95% of the people, let me see, of Cameroon, or the people of the Oldemi, forgive me if I'm saying this wrong, pronouncing this wrong, but the Oldemi people of Cameroon, they have the R1B. These may be, look at the long heads. These might be some of the, and it's not about, they always trying to say, well, R1B Europeans went into Africa or went into the land of Ham and Shem. No, I think it was the other way around. But how did we get with these whiter skin? Now, I'm not talking just lighter skin, because I believe that these are more indigenous, lighter skinned people. Yeah, now Senegal, that's something. That's something I think, are they of Yasharel? And of course, there has been mixing of the Shemitic and the Hamitic. That goes way back. If you believe like the book of Jasher, definitely, I think they said, like, if you believe that, like Abraham's mom or something may have been Cushitic, if you believe that. But yeah, there's been this mixing and mingling. Okay. But we are not of the same haplogroup as these people. Although we may, I got people in my family. Back, come to find out, my sister had some I don't know how I got there, but it showed up in my niece's DNA. I was like, no wonder she had that big behind. And she this is the same complexion. This is my sister's complexion, and our DNA is very highly matched up. It ain't in me though, because my sister and I got the different dad. Yeah. But the thing is, you may have had lighter people, but whiter, that's a whole different thing. Now white skin, now these are still, even though these people have lighter skin, they're still melanated. They're still melanated. And you can see that people are trying to say they're close to their white. How are they close to their white? They actually, if you look at the hair texture, their hair is typically more tightly coiled than even the so-called, let's say, the Negro of Nigeria. On average, they have more. So what makes you blacker? Your features or is it just about the melanin? And they're known for having, big booties and, what they want to call steatopigia. Just like a lot of them women in South Africa got them really nice shapes. They got the little small waist, big old, Yeah, so although these are lighter people, they are still melanated people. Okay. However, but I definitely believe that there are still descendants of Canaan who may be, quote unquote, what would be anthropologically classified as, quote unquote, black, right? And not just in the African continent. However, the Palestinians, now they claim to be descendants of Canaan. They claim to be. And am I saying that they're not? Actually, I believe they might also be descendants of Canaan. Yes, definitely. Like people now who are in the Levant, nobody's denying that. But the thing is that how they originally looked? Is that how they originally looked? How did they become white? Well, see, perhaps in my next live stream or video, I'll go more into and talking about what I believe. I believe something caused, and y'all probably already know what I'm going, a mutation. I believe Esau is still some descendants of Edom. Definitely still in Africa. Definitely. Perhaps even I ain't even just talking the Horn of Africa. Perhaps even sub-Saharan Africa. You know, yeah. But that's going to be a touch. That's a touchy subject. Whenever I go there, there's people that don't like that. But and I can't say that I'm totally certain, but I'm just going to share what I have. But going back to and talking about the Phoenicians, and understand that, let's go into Esau's wives. Okay, let me get the exact. Okay, let me get the exact. Is it Genesis 30? I mean 26. Genesis. Let's go more so into the wives, King James Version. Go into the wives, Genesis chapter 26 of Esau. Where do we go down to? I think this is a long chapter. Now, who did Esau? Is it? Am I right? Is it Genesis 26? Oh, I might be wrong. Oh, no. Okay, and Esau, okay, going down to verse 34, I guess I gotta go to the next. And Esau was 40 years old when he took to wife Judith, the daughter of Beri the Hittite, and Bashemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. Okay, and we know the Hittites, we know that they were descendants of Canaan, right? Also notice this, when they talk about I notice also in the Bible, there are references to these Canaanite groups like the Hittites and Jebusites, and then they say Canaanites separately. Now we know why Judah was separate from, we know why the 12 tribes ended up being separated, northern 10 tribes that carried on the name of Yasharel, and then Judah, which consisted of Judah, Levi, and Benjamin. And they took on the name of just Judah. We understand, we know what happened with that. But why is it that this was also something similar, it seems, with the Canaanites? Like there are references to Canaanites and, Canaanite tribes, and then the Canaanites separately, almost as if there was something that led to a split. Those who chose to continue calling themselves Canaanite and those who just identify by these more distinct tribes. It makes you wonder. Right. Wink, wink. Yeah, that's what I can't help but wonder. Yeah, mutation or something, like, is there a reason? But yeah, now, so as we see here, Esau, his initial wives, were, of descendants of Canaan, and which were a grief unto the mind of Isaac and to Rebekah. So that grieved his parents, him taking on these Canaanite wives, being that they were into idolatry and all of that. And this is something they were not to do, to mix with these other nations of people. Yeah. And it came to pass. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Maybe I should. Let me go back because I want to go more into Esau's descendants. I think I might have it. I'm unorganized, y'all. I'm unorganized. Let me see. Maybe I should do a search for Esau's. I want to get there. I know I should know this down pat now, but please forgive me. Descendants. Okay, wait. Oh, I was right. Yeah, because I thought Esau 36. I mean, Esau 36. Genesis. Genesis 36. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I'm pretty sure. Okay. I'm trying to go to Bible Gateway, and let me go to the King James Version since we've become so familiar reading in that. Okay. This is the account of the family line of Esau, that is, Edom. Esau took his wives from the women of Canaan: Adah, daughter of Elon the Hittite, and Oholibama, daughter of Anna, and granddaughter of Zibeon the Hivite. Now they say Hivite is synonymous with Horite. Okay? So Oholibama is the granddaughter of Zibeon the Hivite. Hivite synonymous with Horite, and Horite was synonymous with troglodyte. We talked about that. Now maybe she did have white skin. We talked about that in our last thing. And Basimoth, daughter of Ishmael, and sister of Nabaoth. Nabaoth. Okay. Now it's believed that he took the Ishmaelite daughter to make his parents happy. Being that because understand, we didn't have the Israelites as of yet, because Jacob, name was not changed to Yasharel. So, but still, Ishmael, I guess Ishmaelite would have been seen as being more of their people, an Ishmaelite daughter. So perhaps he took that daughter, to make my parents happy. So understand, there would definitely, in considering that one of his wives were Ishmaelite, there would definitely be some descendants of Edom and Ishmael that, that we know would be black, right? Right? Adah bore Eliphaz to Esau. Basemath bore Ruel. And Oholibama bore Jeush, Jalam, and Korah. These were the sons of Esau, who were born to him in Canaan. Esau took his wives and sons and daughters. Okay. So, yeah. So as we know also, now the original people who were in... Yeah, it says, jumping down to verse 9, this is the account of the family line of Esau, the father of the Edomites in the hill country of Seir. Remember Seir, Seir. Now, the people who were initially inhabiting the country of Seir. So let me go ahead. I'm going to go back to verse 6. Esau took his wives and sons and daughters and all the members of his household, as well as his livestock and all his other animals and all the goods he had acquired in Canaan, and moved to a land some distant from his brother Jacob. Their possessions were too great for them to remain together. The land where they were staying could not support them both because of their livestock. So Esau, that is Edom, settled in the hill country of Seir. This is the account of the family line of Esau, the father of the Edomites in the hill country of Seir. And okay, now Seir, where is Seir today? Where is Seir? Well, today, you remember, y'all saw the movie Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and I remember looking into that. Like, why did they choose here? Remember where they went in the place where supposedly there was the Knights Templar, even though they weren't actually filming inside, but they did film outside of this area, actually. And it became a hot tourist spot ever since, the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which was released around 1989. But I was like wondering, why did they decide in the home of Edom, in the Jordan? Yeah, it's we've talked about this before, Petra. And think about it, Petra, what does Petra mean? Rock, like petrified, rock. Esau, who dwells in the clefts of the rock. This is Esau's home. Now, before Esau was there, we know that the people who were there before Esau, or, in his descendants, were the people who were there before Esau were the Horites. Now, it is believed that the Horites were descendants of, it's believed that eventually those descendants of the Hivites, the Horite, it's believed that they, or perhaps their daughters, mingled with, well, I don't want to go all into that right now. They may have, with the descendants, not the direct descendants, but the descendants of the Nephilim over time. It's believed, which may have led to the mutation, if you will. But But yeah, the Horites were initially in this land of Seir. And it said that Seir means hairy. It's also, as I showed you, when I made the connection, Seir, Caesar, think Rome. And this ain't just me just guessing. Okay, I could link it. But anyways, but look at this. Look at Petra and the Jordan. We've looked at this many times. But look at it again. It's where they filmed, the Indiana Jones. And I was like, why would they, for this Knights Templar, why would they choose this place? Notice it look kind of reddish, doesn't it? But doesn't that look familiar? Look at the columns. Look at the columns. Look at the columns. Now, the Nabateans, I think the Nabateans may be descendants of Ishmael, also perhaps a little mixed with Edom. But, it's kind of, not really inhabited like that. But, yeah, because there's terrible, terrible earthquake. Now, it's probably judgment in this area, so it hasn't really been inhabited. But this is like a temple, like mausoleum or something like that, or treasury in the Petra and the Jordan. And look, this was carved thousands of years ago. Do y'all see this? And one thing you're going to notice, the opening, even though you can't see it from this view, but the door opening is very high, very tall for whatever reason. Unnecessarily tall. And you also got to consider, how was they able to carve this? This was carved into rock. But notice the design. Doesn't that design look familiar with the columns? Something about these columns. And then you got, I forgot what you call that when it's a triangle on top. Doesn't that look familiar, y'all? Doesn't that look familiar? And now we know that it's Edom, because guess what? They got there's a hotel. Oops, I meant to put, there's a hotel there in the Jordan, like for tourists, right? They call it, hold on, I've shown y'all this before. It's called the Edom Hotel. No joke. It's called the Edom Hotel. It's in the Jordan, in Petra, Jordan. Let me see. I don't want to show too much. Let me see. If you want the experience, yeah, it's called it's in Wadi Musa, Jordan. If you want to go to the Edom Hotel. Wait, let me open the image. It's in Petra, Jordan. And it's called the Edom Hotel. No joke. Look it up. In Petra, Jordan. They got columns. See, this is when you know, whatever, if you want a clue as to where the Edomites have conquered, infused in, and all you got to do, look for certain symbols. Something about columns. Like I told y'all, it was an episode of Chowder, the cartoon Chowder that came out like in the 2000, like around 2008. It was an episode with the arboreal. It was this fictional, these trees, they were arboreal. And they were talking about how we tend to get very hairy. It grew leaves. And they say that we love more marble columns. But they were like this, these fictional trees, right? The arboreals, they called themselves. They were demanding more marble columns. How you doing, Azure TV? Well, I've been fascinated. The thing is, I'm all over the place though, because I got too much information, and now it's like I don't know where to begin. But yeah, it's in the Edom. Oh, and guess what? Used to be their deity. There was a deity, QOS. This was a deity, an Edomite deity. You see this here? Now, let me see. What do I have here in my notes? Okay, it says in my notes, Nabatean Atargatis. This is from 100 AD. And notice, what's on top of the head of this symbol? Let me find it again. Let me find it again. This is said to be the Edomite deity. Let me find this again. Let me move that. Let me find it. Okay, QOS is spelled. Kos, yeah, and you can find it in Wikipedia. Yeah, they talk about it here. Kos Edomite, Kos, or Koze, Greek, was the national god of the Edomites. Okay, Kos. Okay, but this is what's interesting. And then okay. You guys can see that, right? Come up close. What's that? Bam! What does that look like on top of the head? Looks like a bird, doesn't it? Looks like a bird. It looks like could be an eagle. Could be an eagle. Oh yeah, I can show you some more with the Edom Hotel. They got like a red cave. And wait. Let me see if I can find inside the Edom Hotel. Oh boy, it's years ago when I discovered this. Can you imagine? I think it's been over 10 years now. I was like, whoa! I said, hecky, like what? Yeah, I wanted to take y'all through a tour of the Edom Hotel a little more. Especially this image right here. So if you really want the Edomite experience, oh yeah, here we go. Dining, drinking, and snacking. So do they serve lentil soup, red pottage? Yeah, but this is, yeah. 114 a night, breakfast included. But yeah, so yeah, you see here. So when you see that, so now what is the phoenix? We know the phoenix to be a mythical bird. We know that the phoenix to be a mythical bird. That it burns up and it rises from its own. It eventually catches fire or whatever, it sets itself up or whatever, and it rises from its ashes. And you remember that time? I mean, you know the scripture. Remember the scripture where it says, "Oh gosh, where is it at? Forgive me." It said Esau will break the yoke. Oh, okay. Let me find that now. Okay, that scripture, is it 27:40? Let me just go to Genesis 27. Okay, and remember when there was the blessings given to Jacob? Yeah, well, the blessing that was intended, that Isaac intended for his oldest son Esau, but Jacob supplanted, or yeah, but he sold his birthright away anyway, right? Okay, so this is the blessing, because Esau, after his blessing was taken, or after, well, he initially gave it away though, remember? But yeah, so going down after, when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceeding bitter cry, because he found out that Jacob got his blessing, right, his birthright. And he said unto his father, "Bless me, even me also, my father." And he said, "Thy brother came with subtlety and have taken away thy blessing." And Esau said, "Is he not rightly called Jacob?" Jacob meaning supplanter. For he hath supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he hath taken away my blessing. And he said, hast not thou reserved a blessing for me? And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, behold, I have made him thy Lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do now unto thee, my son, my son? And Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac, his father, answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth. Like he's going to be dwelling in really rich lands, right? You know, that's where you're going to be dwelling. And of the dew of the heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live. Like he's going to live by war, like just obtaining everything through war, and shalt serve thy brother till it come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion, and thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. So there's going to be this point where he's going to get dominion. And remember, Esau represents the end. Apocrypha says Esau represents the end of these worldly kingdoms. All right. So we are definitely, I know that we are definitely in the time of Esau's king. Well, we're really saying the devil, but not saying that Esau's the devil, but I'm just saying. So when do y'all think that time was? Now, of course, we know that Esau through history, you know, you've had the Roman, you know, and maybe this is something to reoccur. So remember also what we read where, you know, he said he's going to rise. And so you got to understand the phoenix, I believe, is a bird representing Esau. It's a symbolic representation of Esau rising from his ashes. And just for those who don't know, let's go more into this. And I'm going to prove you that the Phoenicians were okay, I got a couple of publications here. Some of these things I had to find all over again because they've been removed and scrubbed from the internet. But I had, you know, thank goodness I was able to find certain things again. So I might as well read it live now while I'm here before it's removed for good. Okay, what's this publication? Yeah, I understand. I can't remember all these because it's been a while, me being caught up in everything else. Okay, this is Secret Destiny of America, includes America's assignment with Destiny Manly P. Hall. Now, Manly P. Hall, he's no longer alive, but he was a renowned Freemason. Okay, there are busts made in his, but if you know anything about Manly P. Hall, just like Albert Pike, very, very renowned Freemasons. Okay, so now this publication, however, is from 2024. Okay. Okay, and on, oh gosh, I'm not good with the Roman numerals anymore. or let me see, chapter, oh gosh. Okay, anyways, the symbols, I just like to give y'all proper citations. Okay, I know. Okay, 10. This is chapter 18, right? XV, that's 18, right? Chapter 18. Because I do like to give y'all a page. The symbols of the Great Seal of the U.S. Is the American eagle actually a phoenix? Selection of the fabulous bird of the ancients seem to have been the intention of the designer of our nation's Great Seal. The phoenix is the symbol of the reborn in wisdom. And understand the Renaissance. Think of reborn, rebirth, because they were able to eventually, over time, now they've already mixed in with the Canaanites and descendants of Ham and then the descendants of Shem, but eventually they went into the Isles of the Gentiles, mixing and fusing in also, with the, and this is, I believe, even before the time of the Messiah. Like when, if you believe what you read in regards to, like in the in other books that have, like the book of Joshua, like let's say about Zepho, who is a descendant of Esau. Yeah, so they had by this now they had also mixed in and mingled in with the descendants of Japheth. You know, now the indigenous people of Japheth, may represent the more indigenous, the Etruscans, descendants of Japheth. More specifically, I'm talking Javan. Like you think the Ionians, Grecians, Romans, the Etruscan. There's a lot of evidence. Etruscan head, okay, but eventually they got in positions of power. Somehow they mix. This is how they mix in with these people. They mix in with first they may be in a position of servitude or oppressed by these people, and they're really good at kissing up to other groups. Please forgive me for putting it that way. But then they intermarry, and then they end up taking on that identity or creating a whole new identity, but keeping the legacy going. They don't continue to refer to themselves. Why do you think the Romans? Why do you think the Herodians? Now we know the Herodians. It is, like Herod, Antipater, and all of them, the ones like the one who was trying to have the Messiah unalived as a baby. Now we know that they are descendants of Esau, right? Why do you think the Romans gave them? They were in these positions of power. Why do you think? Because they were obviously related to some degree. Okay? They were obviously to some degree, I believe, related. The Herodians to the, even if the Herodians may not have exactly mixed in with the Romans or with they became Romans after fusing with Esau. Okay? Edom and Rome became pretty much synonymous. All right? Caesar is from Sayre. Caesar meaning Harry. But anyways, yeah. Okay. Where was I? Is the American eagle actually a phoenix? Yeah. So okay. Yeah. The reason I was talking about Rome, because Rome, as we know, eventually being trashed by the barbarians. That was a time period. Y'all know the time. Yeah. And what was that? 408. Yeah. When the barbarians sacked what they established the Roman Empire, but around and between that time and what was called the medieval or dark ages, you had the Crusades. All right. And there was a purging out during this time in different lands, until we led up to the final defeat of the Moors in the 15th century, the latter 15th century. 1492 being that ultimate year. All right. That was the Renaissance or the rebirth. Now, the rebirth of what? The rebirth, it was to continue what they had began or what they established with the Roman Empire. Okay. All right. Is the American eagle actually a phoenix selection? Yeah. So it was like phoenix, the bird. But the phoenix is a mythical bird, unlike the eagle. Understand, the eagle is a mask for the phoenix. Remember what we read in Obadiah, the eagle in relation to Edom. Is the American eagle actually a phoenix? Selection of the fabulous bird of the ancients seem to have been the intention of the designer of our nation's great seal. The phoenix is a symbol of the reborn in wisdom. The design on the reverse of the great seal is even more definitely related to the order of the quest. The pyramid and the all-seeing eye represent the universal house surmounted by the radiant emblem of the great architect of the universe. Now, this is all Masonic talk. These three symbols in combination is more than chance or coincidence. When the time came to select an appropriate emblem for the great seal of the United States of America, several designs were submitted. These are described by Galliard Hunt in the History of the Seal of the United States, published in Washington, D.C. in 1909. Most of the designs originally submitted that the phoenix bird on its nest of flames, okay, listen to this, Most of the designs originally submitted had the phoenix bird on its nest of flames as the central motif. One of the designers now familiar to us was finally selected, and Benjamin Franklin was asked for his opinion of the choice. And remember, Benjamin Franklin was into some occultism, okay? It's science. Science my behind. It wasn't just about the scientific method and his experimentation. Yeah, he was a very intelligent man, but he still dabbled in the supernatural and occultism. Franklin gave his immediate approval, observing naively that it was very appropriate to select the wild bird. It was very appropriate to select the wild turkey as a symbol of the new country. The turkey was a bird of admirable quality, hardworking and industrious, and of good moral character, and a fowl also with a marked aversion for the color red. Now, why red? At that time, unpopular among the colonists. When it was explained to Franklin that the bird on the seal was intended to represent an eagle, he was bitterly disappointed, and he insisted that the drawing did not look like an eagle to him. And furthermore, an eagle was a bird of prey with few of the respectable qualities of the wild turkey. And it has been said that the designer had drawn a phoenix. Its selection, of course, would have been appropriate. Among the ancients, a fabulous bird called the phoenix is described by early writers as Clement, Herodotus, and Pliny, well, Herodotus, the historian, and Pliny, in size and shape, it resembled the eagle, but with certain differences. The body of the phoenix is covered with glossy purple feathers, and plumes in its tail are alternately blue and red. The head of the bird is light in color, and about its neck is a circlet of gold plumage. At the back of its head, the phoenix has a crest of feathers of brilliant color. Only one of these birds was supposed to live at a time with its home in the distant parts of Arabia in a nest of frankincense and myrrh. Notice, its home in the distant parts of Arabia in a nest of frankincense and myrrh. The phoenix, it was said, lives for 500 years. And at its death, its body opens and the newborn phoenix emerges. Because of this symbolism, the phoenix is generally regarded as representing immortality and resurrection. Okay? So think Renaissance, born again, rebirth. Okay, the phoenix's symbol is important in another way as an emblem among nearly all civilized. It's an emblem among nearly all civilized nations of royalty, power, superiority, and immortality. The phoenix of China is identical in meaning with the phoenix of Egypt, and the phoenix of the Greeks is the same as the thunderbird of the American Indians. Now, I'm gonna tell you too. I believe that a lot of the Mongoloid people referred to as native may be also descendants of the Hittites as well as descendants of Japheth. That's another discussion. In the accompanying drawing, the head of the bird, as it appeared on the Great Seal of 1782, is compared with the present form. It is immediately evident that the bird on the original seal is not an eagle, nor even a wild turkey, as Franklin had hoped, but the phoenix, the ancient symbol of human aspiration toward universal good. The beak of a different shape, the neck is the beak is of a different shape, the neck is much longer, and the small tuft of hair at the back of the head leaves no doubts as to the artist's intentions. Okay, so understand. Yeah, it goes on and on. You guys can check this out for yourself. Also, let me see. There's more classic collection of Manly P. Hall, Secret Teachings of All Ages, The Lost Keys of Freemasonry, The Initiates of the Flame, Manly P. Hall. Yeah, it's from 2025. All this sharing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Not quite giving me the pages, but it reads here. But Herodotus and Pliny noted that the general resemblance in the shape between the phoenix and the eagle, a point which the reader should carefully consider, for it is reasonably certain that the modern Masonic eagle was originally a phoenix. The body of the phoenix is described as having been covered with glossy purple feathers, while its long tail feathers were alternately blue and red. Okay, we read all of that. Yeah, the phoenix was regarded as sacred to the sun, and the length of its life, 500 to 1,000 years, is taken as a standard for measuring the motion of the heavenly bodies and also the cycles of time used in the mysteries to designate the periods of existence. Okay, Egyptian phoenix. Yeah, it goes on and on. Yeah, so Manly P. Hall basically had said, and there's also another publication, pretty much taken from the same thing: Founding Fathers, Secret Societies, Freemasons, Illuminati, Rosicrucians, and the Decoding of the Great Seal. This is from 2005 by Robert Hieronymus. Okay. I'm trying to get, let me see. They're talking about the Great Seal. And also, remember when I talked about that laurel leaf, or, also consider that FBA flag. Moore's World TV had a very, very interesting live stream last night. I watched some of it. But yeah, I could. But let me go ahead and speed it up. Let me see. David Overston notes that the Barton saw the burning phoenix of his seal design as being emblematic of the expiring liberty of Britain, revived by her descendants in America. Manly P. Hall concluded that the tuft on the head of the 1782 eagle was similar to that on the headdress of an Egyptian picture of a kneeling winged god, interpreted by English Egyptologist Sir J. Gardner Wilkinson as a phoenix man. What Hall failed to realize, however, was that Sir Wilkinson had admitted his error in mistranslating as phoenix man, an Egyptian term that meant the pure soul of the ruler. Okay. Now, what did y'all say? Well, that's Hamitic. That's not necessarily Edomite, but that's more Hamitic. That's Kemet. That's but you got to understand, the Edomites also, and regardless of pagan, but the Edomites also had great influence, especially when we're talking. But let me show you what I'm talking about. Let me show y'all what I'm talking about. Let me go. I got to close some of these tabs. I got too many tabs open. Let me close at least some of these tabs. I want to keep these scriptures open now. Yeah, now today, of course, they will show us Phoenicians. Type in Phoenicians, they'll be looking like this. Oh yeah, I was meaning also to read in this, from this, biblical train, Phoenicia, a strip of coastal territory between the Lebanon Range, the uplands of Galilee, and the Mediterranean Sea, containing the trading ports of the great maritime people that bore its name. Exact definition of boundaries is not possible, for the Phoenicians were associated with their cities rather than with their hinterland, after the fashion of the Greek colonies. It can be said, however, that to the north, Phoenicia never extended beyond Arvad or Arados on the modern island of Wuad, 80 miles 80 miles north of Sidon. Okay, let me just read on. The Semitic name for the land was Canaan. The Kanachi or Kanaka of the Tel El Amarna letters, Egypt, and the Chua of the Phoenician coins. The name is of doubtful significance. May mean lowland, as distinct from the uplands parallel with the coast, which are geographical feature of the eastern end of the Mediterranean. Now, listen to this now. The term Phoenicia is from a Greek word. They meant word, even though it says work, meaning dark red, but there is no clear reason why this was applied to the land. Now, they're saying they don't know why this was applied to the land. Okay, in fact, may mean dark red because the Phoenicians were the discoverers of the crimson purple dye derived from their mural shellfish. Phoenix also mean date palm. And there may be a clue in the fact that the palm is a symbol on Phoenician coins. Okay. Now, notice that although the Phoenicians are described as Canaanites, who are descendants of Ham or Kemetic, why is it saying also here that the Phoenicians were Semites or Semitic, who came to the Mediterranean as one ripple? Now, we know the descendants of Shem, that would be like Yasharel, Edomites, you know. Edomites are also Shemitic as well as Israelites. The Phoenicians were Semites who came to the Mediterranean. Now, how are they Semites but also being described as Canaanites? Or were they just Semitic people living in the land of Canaan, or both? Again, Esau's original wives were the people he initially mingled with were the Canaanites. Okay? I'm not saying that he mingled with all of them, but he definitely mingled with them. And it is believed that some of the Canaanites that mingled even before that with the descendants of the Nephilim, if you know what I'm saying. Not all, but some. Okay, the Phoenicians were Semites who came to the Mediterranean as one ripple. Oh yeah, by the way, this is from biblicaltraining.org. Where was that? The Phoenicians were Semites who came to the Mediterranean as one of the series of Semitic or migrations that moved west and found round the Fertile Crescent during the second millennium BC. Abraham was part of this historical process, but the movement brought major tribal elements. The Amorites, for example, to Palestine, the Kassite dynasty to Babylon, and the Hyksos to Egypt. The tribes who occupied the coastal strip turned their attention to the sea because of the pressure on the agricultural lands in the narrow lowland strip, never more than 20 miles wide behind them. A tradition of seafaring may have accompanied, there's also these references to the sea people, may have accompanied the immigrants from the Persian Gulf, itself this first scene of human navigation and seaborne trade. Such was the challenge and stimulus that made the Phoenicians the most notable sailors of the ancient world and led to their feats of colonization, which spread their trading posts around the African coast from Carthage westward and established them in Spain and Italy. Okay, so there's a lot more. So yeah. Now, and what was but let me show you some more. Let me show you. Hope y'all still with me. Now, this phoenix, does it mean red? Oh, let's check this out. Now, I can just give you a quickie. In Greek mythology, phoenix or phoenix, okay, this is the Greek, means sun red, was the eponym of Phoenicia, who together with his brothers were tasked to find their abducted sister Europa. Okay. All right. See, red. Hold on. English language and usage stack exchange. Let's go to this right here. Are the words phoenix denoting the bird, red denoting the bird, and Phoenicia cognate? Okay. The phoenix had a purple red color. A purple red color. Similar to or the same as the color produced by the purple red dye that Phoenicia was famous in both Greece and Rome for trading in. Some leaders of the Roman Republic wanted the Phoenician city of Carthage destroyed, given the instances of it being able to rise again after defeat, a bouncing back that recalls the repeated. And notice, Esau's always talking about he's going to rise again. The South shall rise again. Bouncing back that recalls the repeated rebirth of the mythical bird. But I haven't found unsaleable evidence for the words being cognate. It's tantalizing. Well, let's dig further. Okay, so we go on to the Greek word noun. Okay, this is the Greek. Okay, now this is Wiktionary. And I put in the Greek term noun, purple or crimson. Phoenix. I had it somewhere where I could show y'all for sure that Phoenix, the Greek word, hold on, we're going to find this. Showed y'all for sure that the Greek word definitely meant, now let me see what the Strong's Greek. Okay, now they have it, palm branches, palm trees. No, but I had original. I know that I was able to find. Let me look in my bookmarks. I should already have that up. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, I definitely got it. I got it up now. I just got so many tabs open and I'm kind of lost. Oh, yeah, this was something I was going to read from as well, but I don't feel like it right now. Now, this is now more of an Afrocentric site. Now, they're saying Canaan, Phoenicia, the first black civilization near the east. Yes, so this is more of an Afrocentric site. This is Lisapo Yakama. Okay, not to totally ignore the Afrocentric site, I'm just saying. But this is something to look at here. It's Phoenician small ship. This is worldhistory.org. Now, this is a small ship showing, you see here, from worldhistory.org. This is a .org site. This is from museum. You see, notice they got BDB heads. So, yeah, I definitely believe that the Phoenicians were initially melanated. But I also believe that about the Edomites as well. But, here we go. I like going to older sources. Oh, yeah, I'm also want to tie in Eritrea, Phoenicia, Eritrea. There's different pages here. Now, this, by the way, this is the Chronicles of Erie, being the history of the being the history of the Gaul, Gaal, Skiat Eber, or the Irish people, volume 1. Being the history of the Gaalsc, look like it's saying Gaul, Scott, and Iber, like think Iberian, or Irish people, volume 1, 1822, Ireland. This is a book from 1822. Let's see what they're saying here. Okay. Now, there are different, I just don't want to lose any of these. So where do I start? What would be the first of all of these? Before XXX, I think I would. Let me start here. Only okay. Yeah. And talking about Phoenician. Canaan, Lane of the merchants. Oh, yeah, that was the word. Phoenique. Spelled like this. I don't know if I hope you guys can see this. You have been instructed. Okay, we're on page. I can't read these Roman numerals, but you can see it here. This celebrated country was one of many. Okay, where do we begin to talk about it? Okay, having made a comparison of the dialects of the Scythian language in the northern and central migrations of that race with the dialect of Erie, let us now measure back our steps to, let us now, my voice going out, measure back our steps to Phoenicia, of the language of which country I have given you diverse specimens in all the regions we have traversed, which I have undertaken to prove identical with the speech of Cantabria and Erie, a pledge about to be redeemed on its native soil. This celebrated country was one of many districts of the land of Canaan, a name first to be explained. According to the tradition of the Hebrews, the land owed its name to an individual, the son of Ham, the son of Noah, a practice I have had frequent occasion to notice and have as frequently condemned, between which signification and mine you can now decide. Okay, so I believe this person is saying that they don't quite agree with the name coming from son of Ham, and then this could be one of those books too, trying to claim white people as being white origins of civilization, but eat the meat, spit out the bones. Canaan, the land of merchants. This country, which extended from the Euphrates east to the Salt Sea west, from Syria of Damascus north to the land of the Arabs south, was so celebrated for its commerce in the very earliest times we have mention of that I have no occasion to make further comment on the propriety of this name for this country, of which one of the nations was fiancé, the land of husbandmen. Okay. Yeah, I think that's the name I'm looking for. I know I got, let me look in my bookmarks right now. It's Phoenician. Oh, I can't find it. I can't find it. What I was looking for. But anyways, going back to the land of husbandmen. You have been instructed to believe that the Greek name for this country is derived from either phoenix, a palm tree, from the quantity of them with which it abounded, or from phoenix. Okay, there's phoenix, both spelled the same, or from phoenix, the color red. The latter derivation maintained even by Newton. So this person, they believe that it's not, phoenix is not about a palm tree, but it's more about the color red. The latter derivation maintained even by Newton, I'm assuming Isaac Newton, on the authority of Herodotus and Strabo, after the following manner. When David, chief of the children of Israel, invaded the land of the Edomites, numbers from the neighborhood of the Red Sea, which used to be called the Erythras Sea, fled. Erythras meaning red. That's why Eritrea means red. It was an Edomite king said to be named Erythras. Okay, now they'll tell you, oh, he was mythical. No, I believe that Erythras very much existed. He was an Edomite king. I believe that, yeah, the Red Sea was named after him. It used to be called, you could look at old maps, it was called the Erythras Sea. Okay, that's what Eritrea was named after. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, when David, chief of the children of Israel, invaded the land of Edomites, numbers from the neighborhood of the Red Sea fled and settled themselves in Phoenicia, that is, in all the sea coast of Syria, from Egypt to Zidon, and by calling themselves Phoenicians in the language of Syria instead of Erythreans. Yeah, Erythreans. That's also meaning red. Gave the name of Phoenicia to all that coast, and to that only Edom, Erythrea, and Phoenicia being names of the same signification, the words denoting red color. So Edom, Erythrea, Phoenicia, it all pretty much means red. Okay. And see, now I know what I had initially learned, like, especially considering I used to go to the Kingdom Hall, like basically the Edomites, they were defeated by David, and pretty much that's the end of them. Now, this publication here is saying that when David, chief of the children of Israel, invaded the land of the Edomites, numbers from the neighborhood of the Red Sea fled and settled themselves in Phoenicia, that is, in all the sea coast of Syria, from Egypt to Zidon. And by calling themselves, okay, so understand, from Egypt to Zidon, okay, these are all Hamitic, Mitzrayim, the descendants of Mitzrayim and Canaan were in these areas, like when you think of the Zidonians. I believe that's where Jezebel, wasn't she a Canaanite woman? Jezebel, wasn't she a daughter of Canaan? Okay, wasn't she Zidonian? Okay, that is all the sea coasts of Syria, from Egypt to Zidon, and by calling themselves Phoenicians in the language of Syria instead of, like, okay, basically, see, that's the thing, they take on the language and the cultures. So saying that Phoenician, that's just their way of saying red, Phoenix or whatever. And by calling themselves Phoenicians in the language of Syria instead of Erythreans, which is basically also red, gave the name of Phoenicia to all that coast, and to that only Edom, Erythrea, and Phoenicia being names of the same signification, the words denoting red color. Okay? Now, they're probably trying to prove in this book that, oh, red, white people. They're probably thinking red white people. See, this proves they were white, but I definitely believe they meant red as in, browner people. Yeah. And also, I just got some images here, like this here being, now Syrians, I believe that they may be also Semitic but this is this is a Syrian of the royal guard drinking beer and wine with a straw. This is from 18th dynasty Egypt. This is from like is said to be from 1350 BC, okay? 18th dynasty Egypt. This is a depiction of a Syrian drinking. The person sitting here is said to be a Syrian. How does that person look? So that tells you how the people looked at that time, even if there was mingling and this and that. Let me see. Terracotta head of a Semite, marked Hebrew by Petrie from Memphis, Egypt. Let me see. Terracotta figure of a priestess, Sumerian Mesopotamian, as I believe. Just give you an idea. Screenshot of Asiatic bound prisoner said to be from the kingdom of Mitanni in Anatolia. And we all know that this is basically red, ruddy skin. These are Eritreans right here. And I do believe that those of Eritrean, there is a reason why E1B1B is in high percentage. Many of the people of Somalia, like Rhoda Osman. Remember I told you Rhoda meant red? Rhoda Osman, Rhoda red. She's a Somali, E1B1B, very, very high. And yeah, they also mixed in and mingled in with the original people of Egypt. And what am I talking about? But let me see. Was it from this that I was reading? Hold on. Where was I? Okay, it goes further into consequently 500 years before the age of David, consequently before the flight of the children of Edom to Azoth and Philistia. So is that another name for Philist? Okay. And 1200 years before this name of Assyria was given to all the land of Canaan, Syria, which was not till the time of Macedonian Scythian Alexander wow, they saying that Alexander was a Macedonian Scythian. Interesting. To distinguish it from the west by its eastern position with respect to Macedon, the word Syria signifying an eastern country. So the reason assigned by Newton for the name of Phoenicia is too whimsical to admit of refutation by argument, yet respect for them. Okay, let me just read on. Okay, Phoenix, which is Greek for palm tree, and palm trees abounded by this land. This may be a reason for the Greeks calling the district Phoeniki, but it is not Greek words I am explaining in Phoenix. Okay, I'm kind of skimming through now. Okay. But it seems there is another reason for the name. The country was called Phoenicia from the vernacular word Phoenicia, which means red, mark the circumstances under which and the time when this name is said to have been imposed. Edom is Arabic for red. Erythra is Greek. And Phoenicia is asserted to be Phoenician for red also. And when the children of Edom fled from David about 1,050 years before Christ to this part of the land of Canaan, the country they say was called Phoenicia for the first time, synonymous with Edom, in complement to these fugitives. Had this part of the land of Canaan been a state rude and uncivilized, over the people of which the superior knowledge or address of these expelled Edomites would be calculated to give them the ascendant, then indeed there would be nothing extraordinary. Okay, all right. So I think y'all can read from, you can pretty much get the picture. Yeah. So the Phoenicians, and there's a lot more. There's a lot more. Yeah. Now we know in the Greek language, Erythros, that's red. Okay, that's what Eritrea was named after. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you got. I forgot to remove this image. Please forgive me. Yeah, I was just reading. Okay, but you can look into this for yourself. That's why I'm showing it live. You know, I'm no telling how long it may be there. Oh yeah, let me just show you this. Let me see. What's this about? What's this about? Sir Thomas Bound. This looks like a pretty old book. What's this book? This is something I got in my bookmarks. This is from then. Now this is really, really old. This is when they had the S's look like an F, or the works of the learned Sir Thomas Browne. Okay, these are early publications in the early English language. Okay, the works of the learned Sir Thomas Browne. This is from containing inquiries into vulgar and common errors, etc., etc. This was from 1686. You're usually not going to find publications in English, as we know, or we can identify English before like the 17th century. You're not going to, yeah. So this is very old. Okay. Yeah, most before that was like Latin or, yeah. So this is very old. Now, what's this? It's something I had bookmarked for page 262. Others have fallen upon the like, or perhaps the same conceit under other appellation, deducing its name not from King Erythras. So understand, these people were talked about in history. Now they'll say the mythical. No, they were not talked about in the past. They were not talked about like they were mythical. This was history. These were, this was considered history. Okay, okay, let me see. Chapter 9 of the Red Sea. Contrary apprehensions are made of the Erythraeans or Red Sea. See, it's the same thing. Most apprehending a material redness therein, from whence they derive its common denomination, and some so lightly conceiving hereof as if it had no redness at all, are, saying to recur unto other originals of its appellation, wherein to deliver a distinct account, we first observe that without consideration of color, it is named the Arabian Gulf. The Hebrews had best reason to remember it, do call it Zuf. Oh yeah, I learned what that word, or the weedy sea, because it was full of sedge, or they found it so in their passage. The Mohammedans, and understand, I have found out that the original place of Mecca was not in Saudi Arabia, but was in Edom, in Petra. Did y'all know that? That was the original home of Mecca. And it is believed that just as the Catholic religion was a concoction of Rome, of Edom, guess what? I had learned that the Islamic religion came from the Catholic religion. It was concocted so they can get. Yeah, this was all on purpose. And also, and it just ended up leading to order out of chaos, right? With the original home, just as they created, the Edomites created the Catholic religion, they also created, I know, hard to believe, they also were behind Islam. The rock and the wood and stone, the sun and moon, the blue and red. Just hit me up. Okay, yeah, the Hebrews who had best direct reason to remember it do call it, okay, I read that part. The stream in antiquity deriveth its name from King Erythras to, oh gosh, because you got to understand that the S's back then, sometimes they would look like an F, so it's hard to read. So, okay, so slightly conceiving of the nominal deduction from redness, they plainly deny there is any such accident in it. The word of, curtains are plainly beyond, evasion. Ab erythro. And do you know I used to have to really type this stuff like in Google Translator when it was in Latin? Do you know how long that would take? And I couldn't copy paste. I used to put a lot of work into some of these videos I would do. Maybe that's why I'm now just live streaming, because I'm just burnt out. Let me see. Because I actually would take the time, let me put this in Google Translate, let me just type it. And that's the thing too. I just got to look at this page and just check and see if I typed it right. Okay, so it's okay. Is that a footnote? Okay. Yet they did read. Okay. Of this opinion was Andreas, Cornelius, Pliny, Solinus, Cassius, who, although they denied not all redness, yet they did rely upon the original from King Erythras. So he did exist. Others have fallen upon the like or perhaps the same conceit under another appellation, deducing its name not from King Erythras, but Esau or Edom, whose habitation, well, King Erythras was said to be a descendant of Edom. Okay, but Esau or Edom, whose habitation was upon the coast thereof. So on the coast, that's why the Red Sea named after Esau, or the Erythras Sea. We call it the Erythras Sea. Okay, and the Red Sea, no more than, and it makes you wonder, the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea, which is where the Caucasian mountain. Now, Caspian basically means white. Think Casper, white, ghost, and the Black Sea. And the interesting thing is that the Caspian Sea is to the west, is to the east, whereas the Black Sea is to the west. And in between is the Caucasus, where the supposedly Caucasian people came out of, right? But anyways, now Edom, as much as Erythras and the Red Sea, no more than the Edomians, spelled with an I, that's also the Edomites, from whence the posterity of Edom removing towards the Mediterranean coast, according to their former nomination by the Greeks, were called Phoenicians or red men. See, so now you see why it says that Esau will be uncovered. They have been hiding under different names. Now, can y'all guess where they're mostly those who are really in power? Could y'all be able to guess who they're hiding amongst now, primarily? Okay, again, now Edom, as much as Erythras and the Red Sea, no more than Edomians, from whence the posterity of Edom removing towards the Mediterranean coast, according to their former nomination by the Greeks, were called Phoenicians or red men, and from a plantation and colony of theirs, an island near Spain, was by the Greek describers called Erythra, spelled the E, as is declared by Strabo and Solinus. Very many omitting the nominal derivation do rest in the gross and literal conception thereof, apprehending a real redness and constant color of parts, of which opinion are also they which hold the sea receiveth a red and minius. Oh, gosh, I don't know what this says. From springs, wells, and okay, I'm gonna have to fall into it. Of the same belief are probably many Christians who, conceiving the passage of the Israelites through this sea, have been the type of baptism according to the apostle. Baptized, okay. All were baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea, and for a better resemblance of the blood of Christ, they will receive. Okay, that is okay. Okay, but divers moderns not considering these conceptions and appealing unto the testimony of sense, have at last determined the point, concluding in redness therein, but not in the sense received. Sir Warren Raleigh from Portugal. From his own in Portugal observations, doth place the redness of the sea and the reflection from the red inland. Okay, I could tell. Okay, here it's talking about, like, I guess it's the debate. Maybe it's named red. Okay. What I'm picking up here is a debate whether it's named red after the sea, the redness of the sea, the redness of, like that debate over Ham. Does it mean about the black land or the black people or both? So that's what I'm picking up from this. As I'm trying to read, this is very difficult. Okay, derived from the redness of the color of the land. Okay, going down. Wait, for some reason though, I got it bookmarked. Esau is brown. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Why do I got Esau's brown here? Where did I see brown? I got it. Esau's brown is the bookmark, but why is the question? I bookmarked this a long time ago, so. But yeah. So I'm not gonna. But hopefully I'll come back to this. Hopefully it'll still be here. Yes, there are many sites where I can show you. Now usually, oh yeah. Now this here. What is this? What's this here about this book here? About this publication here? 1861, Sold, The Mysteries of Adonai, or Adoni. Okay, Williams and Norgate, 1861. This is putting Christianity and other religions. And okay, I think I was able to find this connection. Yeah, this is one of the places making a connection. The Hyksos of Egypt and the Edomians. Okay, and there's so much I want to go to about Horus, perhaps being named after Horites. But anyways, now I'm not saying that the indigenous descendants of Mitzrayim were white. That's not what I'm saying. But you got to understand there was a invasion, if you will. Okay, Yehuda's territory, or Jehuda's, I'm not sure, Yehuda's territory originally extended from the Edomite mountains to the north point of the Dead Sea. From there, the boundary line ran above Jerusalem to the Mediterranean. Hence, the usual victories of mountaineers over the lowlanders, like Canaanite or the Phoenicians. For the terms Canaanite and Phoenician are used one for the other in Hebrew scripture. Herodotus says that the Syrians of Palestine, the Jews, the Syrians of Palestine, whom he called the Phoenicians. Now remember the Palestinians, they do claim to be descendants of Canaan, right? Okay. So the Syrians of Palestine, whom he calls calls Phoenicians, anciently dwelt, as they themselves said, upon the Red Sea. According to the same author, they went out from the Red Sea, from Egypt, according to the Bible, Manetho, Chermon, Polemon, Diodorus, etc., and settled in that part of Syria which lies upon the Mediterranean Sea and is called Palestine. Who they were is well settled. Herodotus, Manetho, and the learned movers have fixed them as Phoenicians. Added to this, we have the testimony of the Hebrew scriptures, which describe the relations of Tyre and Jerusalem as those of kindred peoples. Solomon writes to the kingdom of Tyre as to one upon whom he had peculiar claims. And Hiram responds in a spirit suited to the international affinity. After entering Jerusalem, the new Phoenicians, what they mean by new Phoenicians, and the old Canaanite Phoenicians. See what are they talking about? After entering, what do they mean out of that? After entering Jerusalem, the new Phoenicians and the old Canaanite Phoenicians must have been coalesced. I think that's what it says. It matters little whether the book of Joshua gives us the most ancient account of this or only the rabbinical version. They remained among the Phoenicians, otherwise called Canaanites. There, Herodotus, the Bible, and Manetho, and all antiquity locate them. Their religion was the adoration of the sun, moon, and stars, and other spirits. Baal, we know Nimrod. Baal. Well, there are actually, I believe, two Baals. Ham, or perhaps even three. Ham, that's where also the false trinity. And there's a reason why there's this confusion over Nimrod's wife being his mom, being his, because actually there are two Baals. It may just be his mother. Because Baal's also said to be Cush or Ham. Ham being the grandfather of Nimrod. I was able to find this. I got the publications. I can show you the proof, or at least the evidence to back up what I believe. That Baal is not just Nimrod. But let me see. Oh my goodness. See, and it's very obviously. Well, this is what I believe. If y'all believe that what we know of now, a book of Yasher is mentioned in the biblical canon. It is mentioned, like in, I believe, books of Samuel, the book of Yasher. Now, there are people who are saying what we know today as the book of Yasher is not the original. I don't know. That don't mean that there aren't certain facts in there. Now, if you read the book of Nimrod, now the book of Yasher that we know of now claims that Nimrod was unalived. He was his life was taken because he had became the first, after the flood, mighty famous man, ruler, even though he had became wicked, Now, I don't believe he was a descendant of Nephilim, no. I believe he was just a descendant of Cush. He was a black man. But yeah, and supposedly it said he had that garment, the original garment or clothes that was made of animal skin for Adam and Eve. Supposedly, Ham had took it, stole it or whatever, hid it, passed it on to his son Cush, who passed it on to Nimrod. And perhaps there was like some power in this garment. And I believe that is the origin of the whole idea of a superhero and its cape or its garment. Notice how when they become superheroes, they change into a different garment. But yeah, but supposedly it was said in the book of Jasher that Esau, but I don't know, because I think there's conflict in the book of Jubilee. That's where it gets. But that Esau took out Nimrod, beheaded him, called him and it's believed that Esau took the garment. And this is how Esau has been, they say that they believe, it was one person said they believe they still got that, like perhaps the Catholic Church is hiding it or something. But yeah. So basically, Esau is kind of taking on the glory of Nimrod, if you will. I don't want to, I don't mean to say glory like in the most, I'm saying the glory as in the fame of Nimrod. And this is what Esau, does, or Edom does. Okay, now check this. Their religion, we're talking about these, Phoenicians, was the adoration of the sun, moon, stars, and other spirits, Baal and all the host of heaven. Later, their philosophy was the worship of the male and female principles. Remember that, like when you consider the false trinity and the male, the yin and the yang, and all of that, taught by the Magi. Magi. What's the female form of Magi? MAGA. Why did Elon Musk say that he was a dark MAGA? In all the schools of the Semitic philosophers, from Babylon to Egypt, from Greece to the extreme coast of Arabia, and of course, on and on and on. Their philosophy shaped their creed. It could not be, remember the Bible speaks of mystery religion, mystery Babylon. And who initially established Babylon or Shinar? That was Nimrod, obviously. Do you understand? So there have been certain occult secrets, things that have been passed down to keep them in these worldly positions of power. And where do they all end up getting their power in the end? Satan the devil. But anyways. All right. Their philosophy shaped their creed. It could not be otherwise, since men can hardly be so rationally convinced of a thing without believing it. Therefore, they associated the great male being, the source of light, water, heat, animation, fire, with a goddess. The Zidonian Baal or Baal Adonis was associated with the Queen of Heaven. The Queen of Heaven. And you remember when Beyonce was in that? The Queen of the Night. And what's the Queen of Heaven? Now, the Bible don't mention Semiramis. That's a name that came along late, but Ashtaroth or Astar, different languages, different. Diana, Easter. That's where we get Easter from. Basically, I'll just say Nimrod's mama. We'll just say Nimrod's woman. Okay, that's why the sun. See, and that's why they concocted the Catholics supposedly representing the sun. Okay, the wood, the cross, and the stone, the moon, the woman. Islam. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, the Sidonian Baal or Baal Adonis was associated with the Queen of Heaven, to whom offerings were made by the Hebrews. They're saying Hebrews. That doesn't necessarily mean, because remember, the Edomites also. But we have to understand there's some of our people as well. The Edomites are also descendants of Eber or Hebrews. Their name, according to the usage of those, and also the Ishmaelites would also be descendants of Hebrews. Their name, according to the usage of those times, was that of the shining god Eber. Hebrew is Eber. The shining bar of the Assyrian bas reliefs, if they called him Baga, God, Bacchus. Now, I'm not saying this is a holy book now. I'm just saying, just look at this. This is what these people believe, though. Akos, Zeus, Hyksos, Zeus, Akaios. Remember, I found out that Isus was another name. I believe it was in Gaul or in Celtic, Isus is Esau. And that's where they get Usus, Jesus. I know it's hard to take. That's why I no longer want to use I try not to use the term Jesus. Because see, Esau is very tricky. And you have to understand too, that there were those who were forced also into conversion by John Hyrcanus. So how did they, but that's a whole nother, that's a whole nother thing. How did they, see, they eventually also took on the identity of Yasharel as well. Who can blame them? Okay, the Hyksos. Yeah, I definitely believe that the Hyksos, they had many names for him. Okay, now this is the thing. You don't have to believe everything that's in here. Eat the meat, spit out the bones, but it's something to consider. Now they're saying that the Hyksos is synonymous with Zeus Akasios. Zeus Akasios. I'm going to have to look more into that. There's so much. There is just too much for me to go over. There's just so much that I have here. Maybe I'll just give you a peek. I don't know. I was looking up something on Somalia here, or the Somali land of Edom. Now, this was something I was able to find in the Internet Archives because it was missing. It was, like here on, I'm just skimming through. Isardan was not to, Isardan. Now, what is Isardan? Oh, y'all know the Isardan. King of, oh, gosh, these are things I've read. Yeah, I'm tired now. I'm very tired. Oh, but let me, yeah. Oh, yeah, hold on. We're not done. I know y'all tired, but we ain't done. I can't close these tabs. It's just, now do you understand? Now do y'all understand? Maybe one by one, we'll go by these, because I'm wondering, should I talk about the Nephilim? Okay, but anyways, from 1860, Egypt's place in universal history, an historical investigation of 5 books, Christian C.J. Bunsen, Volume 4, on page 296. What we got here? But the commencement of the popular alphabet brings us, at all events, to the Mesopotamic age, prior to the immigration, not only of Abraham, but also the children of Edom, Phoenix. Look, why do they got Edom/Phoenix? You see? So even before the Rome, they fused in and became one with Romans, became synonymous with the Romans. They were the Phoenicians. They fused in with whoever the people were in that land of Canaan, whether they were Canaanites or other Shemitic people, but they became the Phoenicians, the sea people. Okay, it may not have only been descendants of Canaan in that they mixed in with, but they became the Phoenicians. But see, we just say Phoenicians. We're not going to say Edomites. That's the way they mask themselves. Do you get it? And the phoenix has been, and now they use the to not be too obvious, they use the eagle. That's just a mask for the phoenix. So wherever they establish themselves, do you think all these different countries speaking totally different languages? You got to think about it. Yeah, see, why is it the children of Edom Phoenix? Why is it let me see, the historical fact therefore conveyed in the Phoenician tradition may have been this, that the alphabet was invented in Aramaic, but simplified by the Phoenicians, and shortly afterward, in the course of the 3rd millennium BC, was circulated by the proselytism of the priest and by commercial intercourse among the coast of the that's an interesting term, and by commercial intercourse among the coasts of the Mediterranean, both in Asia and Europe. Okay, that's just showing something. Yeah, they went from into Rome. They fused in. Yeah. And I'm not saying that all Edomite groups are the same. Like we know there are the Amalekites, and also he had different wives. I wanted to go into this, but this is some Phoenician origins of the Britons, Scots, and Anglo-Saxons. Remember we talking about the Horites, the Harry, Hittite, Aryan, Hurrian. But I don't feel like going into that right now. Hold on. Oh, it's just too much. You got to understand over time. Just imagine me just up all night, just reading and finding this stuff. It's just like, whoa, I can't wait to expose this. But now I'm like kind of burnt out. But I'm gonna tell you this. Everywhere. And understand, remember, the Phoenicians were good at trade. They were really good. Navigating the sea and trade. By the way, these are the Elamites. Babylonian walls or Sumerian walls. The Elamites, descendants of Shem. Elamites may also be ancestors to some of the people like of India. Man of Yemen. Yemen, named after Teman, named after Esau. Just like Eritrea, named after Esau. And Yemen, named after Teman. Just for knowing. And I question the Benina Dahomey, but that's a whole nother, or the Edo people of it, but that's a whole nother discussion. I don't want to go there. But not yet, and I'm not really certain. But yeah, let me see. What was I trying to? Is it a coincidence? Where are we at? Oh, there is just so much. Like I got another one here. Yeah, there's so many tabs I got open. I can't go to all this. It's too much. I'm too tired. But consider this. Notice how, okay, I put in Eagle Edom, image search. We've talked about this before. Now, even though these are different countries, different languages, not all in Europe, not all in the Americas, yet why do they use the same symbol from Edom and Petra and Jordan to Rome to Germany, the United States? And also, look out for that leaf. That's why I'm not down with that FBA flag is even questionable. Who, remember I explained about the laurel leaf. Remember what I was talking about? Remember how Synergy, she embraces? Now, I remember when Nietzsche X referred to her as the bald eagle. But notice how she was already, if y'all can remember, on Cynthia G's channel, she used to have the image of the phoenix multiplied. The phoenix, she had that image multiplied on her channel. Do y'all remember that? And then she started embracing. Even before Michi X referred to her as a bald eagle, she was embracing the phoenix image. Just like how they had that shield, her and Nile and them, and they would use the shield and leaf. You know, we can say that's just sorority, fraternity stuff. But that's why we ain't supposed to be down with that stuff anyway. But anyways, Greek societies and all that. But yeah. Is it a coincidence? And look, these are just 4 examples here. There's so many more. And it's in different forms. Sometimes you'll have a 2-headed eagle, look similar to a phoenix, because it is this. Now, don't get me wrong. The eagle is a creation of the Most High Yah. There's nothing wrong, that Yah's creation. However, they're using the eagle as a symbolism when it's really the phoenix. That is, yeah. Why is it all these countries different in every continent just about? There's this symbol. I even found the Edo, the symbol of the Edo people of sub-Saharan West Africa, the eagle symbol. Like what? Why is this eagle symbol of all the birds, of all the animals, why is this symbol just so frequented? And sometimes it looks similar to a phoenix. Sometimes it doesn't exactly look like it. Look, we got Indonesia, United Arab Emirates, Syria, all these different nations. And you think that they're just putting, because they think it looks it's cool or something? Do you think they put that on the seal of the United States? All that questionable imagery and symbolism? Do you think it's just because they think it looks cool? Or, oh, this is cool. There are a whole bunch of animals that can be used. And don't get me wrong, they use all these animals. The owl, there's something that the owl represents. Now, these are Yah's creations. I'm not saying that an eagle is bad, or it's everything, including the creatures I'm not too fond of, like insects. They're all for a reason. So I'm not trying to put down Yah's creation, but I'm saying that these, and see, the phoenix actually is something symbolic, but they use the eagle. They couldn't, as a mask. But if you notice this eagle in many places, you can see it doesn't quite look like an eagle, does it? And have you not noticed, like when I showed you the scene in Petra in the Jordan, like remember also we looked at, it is no coincidence. Now also when we looked at with Petra, we were looking at the this was said to be Kos or whatever, an Edomite deity. Remember what the scripture says, although about Esau exalting himself like the eagle, setting his nest among the stars. Yeah, and he's always trying to be up on high, just like when you think of Nimrod building the Tower of Babel, thinking that they can overflow the Most High, always trying to go into space, always trying to, But yeah, like remember when I showed you the image we saw of Petra. Well, not just the hotel, but like with that Edom, like with this Edom hotel, you see this. Have you not noticed how it looks so similar? Look at the details. Now this was thousands of years. This was carved in rock. It's kind of red looking. Red, Petra, Jordan, Petra meaning rock. 12 in see, this is where they started out. Yeah, but them, and before they were there, you had the Horites. And there's been earthquakes that hit, so they couldn't really reside there, but they've Where do you think that Esau's went? Oh yeah, I needed to. Yeah, but but look as we. Oh, gosh, I'm so got too many tabs open. Okay, we talked about Edom and all these kingdoms. Yeah, and you see here where it says Obadiah 1:4, as we read, thou shalt, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith Yahuwah Elohim. Or saith the Lord, as it says there in that translation. Also, like I said, when you look at how just look at when you let me see. I know I have it somewhere where they show these different kingdoms. You'll notice that yeah, these Edomite, I mean, there's more. This is just one example. This here is just one example. Bam. So we go from Mount Seir, Greece, Rome, Spain, France, Germany, Russia, Great Britain, United States. Now, do you think it's a coincidence? Do you think it's a coincidence that, they've all kind of adopted this kind of structure, architectural structure with I forgot what you call that when it's a triangle thing over the. Yeah. Do you think that's a coinky thing? And there's more. There's more you can find in Turkey. Oh yeah, we can go into the origin of Tur. Yeah, hey Adam Guija, yeah. The phoenix is the esoteric symbol marking who they are, right? And trust me, the areas where they've gotten some power, you best believe you're gonna see the symbols. Just like with the dragon. Why is the dragon so popular if it's just a mythical thing? Why is it the mythical dragon that's said to be mythical? Why is there tales of dragons in Asia? And, I mean, different tales of dragons, Kokan, What are dragons? That they actually exist? But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that. There's so much more to it. Last thing. I mean it for now. For now. I gotta be able to somehow, little by little, I can't expect for people to be up in here listening to me for like hours. But even if it's little by little information and maybe somebody else take it, put it in a video. But yeah, I could be taking advantage being that I went on and got the one channel monetized. And I know I could be uploading. It's just not interesting me. I know, call me crazy, but this is actually what is interesting me. Okay, and I'm gonna keep this up on. I may put it on private on my random channel, but I'm gonna keep it up. That's why I want y'all to subscribe to all my channels. Okay, how do you think the Phoenicians might have looked, or those people along the Levant? And how do you think they look? Y'all ever heard of the Shasu? Y'all know about, oh shoot. I hope that. The Shasu. Let me just go to the parts that are bookmarked. The Shasu Hyksos, or the Shasu. Well, I'm gonna just show you. Let me show you what I got in my bookmarks, all in my folders. And usually if I put an exclamation point in front of it, that means bam, don't forget to go here. Yeah, Shasu. And the Shasu of Seir. Yeah, I know you guys have seen that. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Those plates, those Egyptian. I'm trying to find them. We've seen them before. There's also a reason I say Yahuwah versus Yahweh. But the Shasu, what's them? I don't want the whitewashed ones. I want the ones. I know I have it in my folders somewhere. Okay, I know you guys have seen. Okay, well, I was able to. Oh yeah, I think I got this site bookmarked too. Oh boy, this is a creepy site. But right here, yeah, I think I got this bookmarked. This is one of them creepy esoteric sites. The Books of Foundation .blogspot.com. Now, it ain't that I follow this stuff. They're talking about the chosen people of the demiurge. But just something to consider. Neanderthal and Cro-Magnon, girl. Okay, but the Shasu is an Egyptian word for Semitic-speaking pastoral cattle nomads who lived in the Levant from what was known to human history as the late Bronze Age, considered Bronze Age, to early Iron Age, or third intermediate period of Egyptian history. These peoples were of these peoples of the Demiurgos were organized in clans under tribal chieftanism and were described by those around them as lawless brigands, active from Jezreel Valley to Ashkelon in the Sinai. The name evolved from a transliteration of the Egyptian word, so you see it right here. Of course, I can't pronounce that, meaning those who move on foot. Like they say wanderer, and they also say wanderer Arab, but Arab meant mixed, into the term for Bedouin type wanderers. The term first originated in an ancient list of peoples in Transjordan. It is used in a list of enemies of Egypt described on column bases at the Temple of Soleb. Remember, they talking about these enemies of Egypt. So why is it that, like who were the Hyksos? Were they us? Some people believe they may have been, And why did eventually the Egyptians really begin to have an issue with the descendants of Yasharel? Because remember, there was that time of Joseph, when Joseph came to power in Egypt, and eventually he was able to bring over his whole family, the Pharaoh, because he had really helped Egypt, during the time of the famine, being that he had the dreams, revealed to him by the Most High Yah, the dreams of Pharaoh. So, he's put in a position of power for helping to save Egypt from the famine. And that also helped Egypt in becoming more powerful to other nations. So he was favored, him and his family. But eventually the Bible speaks of a time long after Jacob's death, over a century after Jacob's death, I believe, where a Pharaoh came along who did not know Joseph. Now, do you think that there might have been, just think, because there was some information that I also found, I just can't dig for it right now. Do you think that there might have been maybe instigators? Or just, But yeah. And who are the Hyksos? Were they there before? Do you believe the Hyksos were in Egypt before? Or Kemet before Joseph's people, are after, or sometime between? But why is it, that they had this issue? The Egyptians, they didn't like these, like shepherds, or, they kind of developed the prejudice. And it was the Hyksos rule. But okay, but just know that, now we do know that there were Edomites that blended in. Like there was an Edomite who hooked up with Pharaoh's sister and daughter or something like that. Pharaoh's in-laws or something. I'd have to look. I've forgotten. Okay, but the term first originated. Like this right here that I have highlighted, but I can't pronounce that. But it says the term first. Oh wait, my husband's calling. Give me a sec, y'all. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me? Hey, it's you, Seeker 24. Okay, I'm gonna shut this down because I know I've been long enough. Shasu's in Egypt. Okay, so the name Shasu, please press on. You can hear me loud enough, clear enough. Evolved from a transliteration of the Egyptian word, which I cannot pronounce, meaning those who move on foot, into the term for Bedouin type wanderers. The term first originated in the ancient list of peoples in the Transjordan. It is used in a list of enemies of Egypt. Inscribed on column bases at the temple of Soleb, built by uh, the Pharaoh Amenhotep III, copied later by either Pharaoh Seti I or Pharaoh Ramses II at Amara West. The list mentions 6 groups of Shasu. The Shasu of Seir, that's what that is. That Seir. The Shasu of Lebanon, maybe that's Lebanon. The Shasu of Simet, the Shasu of Werber, the Shasu of Yahweh, and the Shasu of Sips. Now, some people believe that the Hebrew, the same. I'm not sure, but let me just get around to. Hold on. Let me see. Now, you see, I know you guys have seen these images before, and we use these images to show that the people of the Levant were indeed black people. Let me find more of those images. I know that I have it in a folder somewhere. I don't know. I tried to type Shasu and search it on my computer, but I couldn't find it. I'm hoping it was not on my old, because remember my computer had crashed in 2019 because I had a lot of stuff saved that I lost over time, a lot of information saved that was to be for future videos. But that's what happened when you don't get around to it when you were supposed to. Hold on. Okay. Because I'm trying to find more of these image. Yeah, the rest of these here images. But yeah, that's one of the images. Maybe if I do a Google search, the image, I don't know. Because I know I have it. Well, anyways, going back to, yeah, you've seen this image here before, right? Yeah, I believe these are definitely descendants of Edom. Okay, what I got here? What I got here? Okay, I got something with a whole bunch of exclamation points. You can see my voice is totally dying out. What's this? Some book, if did Moses exist? Okay, this is from 2014. Myth of the myth. Okay, so eat the meat, spit out the bones. Okay, we know that Moses was not a myth, but what is it saying? Eat the meat, spit out the bones. Let me see. Saying Shasu, obviously shared this for a reason. As we have seen on page 186, Hyksos have been said to represent the Hikshasu or Oshu, connoting rulers of nomad lands. The troublesome Shasu or Shasu, the troublesome, or Shasu are found in numerous Egyptian texts, including a list of Transjordanian peoples from the 15th century in the time of Amenhotep III. A topographical a topographical list was created at the temple of Amun at Celeb that was copied later by either Seti the First or Ramses II at Amara West, and that mentions 6 groups of Shasu, the Shasu of Seir, the Shasu of Lebanon. Okay, I've already read that. The name Shasu, move 1 foot. Now there's a reason I got this highlighted. I got it marked, like really, really, really marked. Yeah, but they're saying that the Hyksos is synonymous with the Shasu. Shasu, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I also found something Shaz refers to Talmud. I got that with exclamation point. Shasu of Yahuwah. Now what is this? I got it bookmarked. Horites, Shasu, Troglodyte, Seer, and I put an exclamation point. What is this? What's this right here? Okay, this is from The Higher Criticism and the Verdict of Monuments, Volume 1. For some reason, I got it for under white race. From 1894, from Archibald Henry Sayce, Society for Promoting Christian Knowledge. On page 204. Okay, the Horites are called the children of Seir in the land of Edom. Now, these were the people that were in Seir, now Petra Jordan, before Esau and his family came along. Okay, but eventually, not only did Esau defeat and perhaps massacred Horites, but he also blended in with them, if you will, with some of them at least. They were the earliest possessors of the country before the arrival of the descendants of Esau. The name has sometimes been supposed to indicate that they were troglodytes, dwellers in caves, but it's better to connect it with a root which signifies white, and to see them as representatives of a white race whom their neighbors contrasted with the red-skinned Edomites. So they're making a distinction between white people and red people being more brown. Now, I probably read that already before, but why do I have this? Let me read on. Because understand, I bookmarked these years ago, I'm sure. In this case, they would have been members of the Amorite stock. We know that the Amorites once occupied the mountains of Kadesh Barnea in the immediate vicinity of Mount Seir. The name of Seir was not unknown to the Egyptians. Ramses III of the 20th dynasty declared that he had annihilated the Seirites among the tribes of the Shasu. Shasu, or plunderers, is a general title of the Bedouin in the Egyptian text. Bedouin, interesting. and applied not only to the nomad Bedouin, but to the settled Bedouin as well. The defenders, for instance, of the fortress of Canaan, now Kirbut Canaan near Hebron, are called Shasu, and remind us that one of the sons of Anak at Hebron itself bore the name Shishai. Edom, the red land, has its counterpart in the Egyptian desert. It just says desert, doesn't end in the T. A name of the same signification, which denoted the country eastward of the delta, inhabited by the Shasu tribes. According to Dr. Brush, the name referred to the red soil of the eastern desert in contradistinction to Kemet, the black soiled land of Egypt. You know, they're going to say soil. So that's debatable. It is probable that the conquest of Edom by the descendants of Esau did not long precede the conquest of Canaan by their kinsfolk, the Israelites. So you see that the Horites, they are seen as white, Edomites red, as in like brown, like ruddy, and the Hamites are in general darker, Kemetic people. Yeah, do you believe that the Hyksos, or at least these ones that were causing them trouble, they probably saw us all the same, being that we're descendants of Semitic people, descendants of Hebrew. They probably saw us all the same. But do you think that these particular ones were Truth Seeker 24? You think that they were these ones that was Hyksos that they had issues with? They eventually had some dominance. Do you think those were descendants of Esau? I think so. I really do. I believe that, how you doing, Royale? I that's what I believe. So we know that the indigenous people, the troglodytes, now this ain't y'all can say, oh, this is wrong. No, this is what they had in their book. This is and many examples I've shown you guys, like in my last stream, where I was able to go on for hours describing Horites as white people, the earliest white people. So in that case, it can be said that maybe, white people did descend from Ham, even if it was Ham's daughter, who were the daddies. So it's so funny when you really look at a lot of the stuff that they said about us. They were, kind of talking about, So yeah, just as I do believe that there are Canaanite descendants, even to this day, who are still black, I do also believe that there are Canaanite descendants, like the Palestinians, who have whiter skin. And perhaps they are descendants of those who, But this is what, hold on one second, guys. Yeah, but you know what? It's very, you know what? Like I think that our haplogroup, like R1b and all of the subgroups, I believe it actually originated with the Hamitic people. That's what I believe. Like the people of Cameroon originally. Yeah. And I definitely believe that, But yeah, I just wanted to go over that. Yeah, I got a lot here on the, because I was always fascinated trying to find out who the Hyksos were, more specifically. Also, I'm curious as to the Moors. And I'm talking, yeah, you got to understand, there was a time that they, just like there's a time they call us all black, Ethiop. So there was a time they called us all, Europeans at least, saw any black person as Moor. But I'm talking about the ones more specifically that had dominance, like in Iberia. Those who are mainly of the Islamic persuasion. I've been very, very curious. Now I know they were and racially speaking, anthropologically speaking, quote unquote black, but I have been. It's been kind of that's what thing that's been fascinating me. Exactly what group of black people. Now some people, not I've heard they may have been descendants of Canaan, like maybe Amorites, and there are those who refer to themselves as Moors of Canaan. Canaanite Moors. Then they may have been descendants of Put, like Libya, and that kind of makes a little more sense being considering where it is. Although they claim they migrated from, of course they didn't refer to themselves as Moors, and they do make a distinction, like in Portugal, between the descendants of Jehuda or so-called Jews. I mean the Jews, or I'm talking our people. They make a distinction between them and the Moors. Now, was that distinction just based on spiritual beliefs or quote unquote religion? Or were they separate people, although black, but separate? Because we now know the Jews of Portugal were definitely indeed black. They said it in their books. Now, somebody told me they believed that they were descendants of Yasharel, but Ephraim. And, so yeah, I just wanted to talk about that, child. It really, so many more tabs that I opened, but I don't think I got it in me because it always takes so much longer. How are we gonna do this, y'all? How are we gonna get this? Because I can't keep just holding this stuff in folders. How are we gonna do this? Because I got lots of information. Lots of information. But how we gonna do our one by one by one? And yeah, with this here, you seeing of the Phoenicians, this image here, you see them. Now you can see, now don't that kind of look like the Shasu? Now this is a depiction of the Phoenicians. Look at the hair. I see B2Bs. But over time, yeah, I got so much. But the thing is, I come back because you guys, this is from years ago, and there are many. There was something I found that was so concrete, and it was talking about Jacob and Esau, and it was very, very old. I'm talking like from the, and I like when I can find it really old. I'm talking about like the earliest, like it was like from like I think the 1500s. And I was like, oh, well, this is it. I should have came up in here right away and showed y'all this. And it was given a description. Jacob and Esau. I said, this is, you can't get no more concrete than this. Like you could tell it was early English. It was really old. I came back to it. It was gone. I'm still to this day trying to find it. I can't even remember the name of the publication, but it was very, very old. And I came back, it was gone because a lot of this stuff is being removed. Things that I talked about, like before that I was able to show y'all, like for instance on Yuda. Now Yahuda was described and all of that. I'm coming back now. Thank goodness I did some live streams because one I'm gonna put together. I was responding. Yeah, it was somebody in Golden City. They had shared, and I heard, but I'm gonna put that together. I downloaded that live stream, and I'm going to re-upload. Not, it ain't got nothing to do with the golden sphere though. But where, oh yeah, when it was about the Lancados. Thank goodness, because I'm telling you, certain things that I went to, that I'm going to now, I'm going back to, like, let's say I want to read the rest of the book or whatever, and I'm going back to, and it's gone. It's gone. There definitely Google Books. You may be able to find it in JSTOR or Internet Archives, like this one here about Esau. It was the bookmark I originally put for this was gone. This was gone. History of Phoenicia, no longer in Google. No longer allowed. They may give you a snippet view, whereas before I had it saved, it had the whole book. So I just found it today. I just, thank goodness Internet Archives. I could go more into Esar Haddon, who that is and what that is, and yeah. So yeah, so it may even be gone. Oh yeah, you say. Yeah, I know, but do you know? I mean, if I were to show you my bookmarks, so do you see? If I were to show you, it's too much. And I think that's what got me stunted, where it's like, it was too much. I couldn't continue. So, and it ain't a good thing with me live streaming. See, back in the day, I knew I had no choice. Before I was live streaming, I knew I had to make a video. Also, the problem with live streaming, it allows me to respond on impulse. It causes me to respond on impulse. And yeah, whereas I knew before, where I had no choice but to take a breather, think it out, do more research. Yeah. But I know that when I respond on impulse, then it could be just a conversation on some clothes and I'm running up in here, Whereas before, and also I was also considered too, when I was initially I was still working and going to college and stuff. So yet I was putting out more, so I knew I couldn't come up in here like that. All right. So, but that's the thing. I hope the Most High just put it back in me. Yeah. So even if it means me, okay, you know what, today I'm gonna go to this because I want that information. I see I was planning on putting it together for a series of videos. But I don't know how I've just lost it. Because I really thought the hard part was going to be the debunking of evolution. But I got it done. That was a lot of work, but I got it done. And I got it done right away. I mean, not right away, but in time. So what happened? Well, I think I can guess what happened. I think I got too caught up with these people in YouTube. I got to stop, getting concerned, and eventually I end up losing my channel and stuff. I have to stay focused. As much as I want to, I just see something. Yeah. Well, I heard Tommy's back, but he's going again. But I see somebody else in here, and this was a total accident. Stumbled on their video yesterday. And I'm like, I ain't gonna say that person's name. And so it's got me cringe and wanting to respond, but I gotta stay focused. I got to stay focused because it's just too much. But you know what? It's going to get out there, even if it's not by me. If I'm not doing what the Most High is, what I believe He has appointed me to do or appointed me to be talking about, He gonna find somebody else, and it's just that simple. Okay. But it's going to get out there. The information is going to get out there. But yeah, I just want to, and maybe I don't want to tag Truth Unedited because I don't want to think I'm opposing. No, but but I being that he's a person I could tell, like to research, like to read, I would, so you guys, whatever information, you don't have to make it a 6-hour long stream. But I'm glad though that more people have been talking about the Horites, because I've been talking about this for years. Yeah, I'm glad though that more people are talking about, and we can say, well, what this has to do with us being faithful. And no, it's just actually what, like I said, when I begin to learn this more and more, it actually increases my faith. It actually, because then, and also I see what's going on. It helps me to actually better see what's going on. You know, like when we talk about Gog and Magog, and it's very fascinating to discuss, because some of this is still a mystery to, and that's why the Bible says, "He who has wisdom," like, or and then also make you kind of feel blessed in a way that certain information may have been revealed to you. Because I'm gonna tell you, when I did my Ancient Egypt series, that's when I really started even more so getting into this. I was just, it was information coming to me I was not seeking. That's what really got me even more so into this. Because y'all know, before the Ancient Egypt series, did you really hear me talking on? I did one series on evolution, but it was after that, because it was information, the way it was coming to me, and I was not even seeking it. And that's when all this information, then I realized, man, maybe what my brothers was saying, my brother, about us being Yahshua, maybe it's true, because I was not seeking this information. I was downloading and getting all the information for the Ancient Egypt series, but before I got to part 12, it was all this information coming to me, and it was blowing my mind. So it built my faith. This information that we could say is irrelevant in regards to race, and it actually built my faith, because then it gives you a better understanding. And I think it's even now, yeah, Esau, he was just another human. Yes, I do believe human. I don't believe he was, some mutant or something, but and we are said to not hate Esau. And I'm not saying all those who, like, let's say, descended from Esau, I do believe the original Esau, E1B1B, representing the haplogroup E1B1B. So let's say if you're of Somalia and you're E1B1B, I'm not saying you're evil automatically. Okay? Just like we know not all white people bad, all right? But we can't deny there have been enemies, even Shemitic enemies, even Hebrew enemies, and I believe that there is a mindset, just like, okay, there can be a really bad father, the really wicked man. Let's say he was a wicked dictator. That don't mean all of his children gonna be wicked, but it is a likeliness that some of that rhetoric is gonna be passed down to some of the children. At least one of them. You know what I'm saying? At least one of them. It's about the mentality that's been passed down, a hatred that's been passed down. I don't think it's necessarily a natural spirit, even though this was part of prophecy. But at least with one of them kids, of that evil ruler or whatever, that mentality, or that, you know what I'm saying, almost like spirit, been passed down. And the reason I think we need, because then it gives us a better understanding, but see, it's also about Esau's pride, just like it's about the pride, and got to drop that pride. Because now, can a descendant of Esau be good? I mean, yeah, I think any and everybody have the, yeah, of course. I think that Job, even though some people maybe debate me on that, but no, Job, who was spoken very faithful man, who after all his stuff, I believe that he was an Edomite. It doesn't exactly say, but wasn't he in any Edomite land? He had Edomite friends. It doesn't necessarily say who his, it was never said that he was of the tribe of Judah or the tribe. I definitely believe that Job was an Edomite. There's other people who believe that too. And he was a good man. There are people, now, let me see. Wasn't Timothy? He wasn't exactly Israelite. There was, now there are some people they want to debate over. Wasn't Rahab? Wasn't she a descendant of Canaan? Of course, we could talk about Ruth. That's debatable. Descendant of Moab. And Moabites the descendants of Lot kind of turned against us too. I hear you, True Seeker 24. Yeah, epigenetics is real. I mean, I think we talking about it in the wrong way. We so busy looking at just, yeah, it's easy to buy skin. But let me get out of here, y'all. Y'all, thank you for joining. Much peace and much love. I can't even find the tab. I got so many tabs open. Give me a second. I can't find the tab to close this. Okay, y'all. I'm trying to shut this down, but I can't find the tab. I got so many tabs open. I can't find the StreamYard tab. Okay. Here we go. Y'all enjoy the rest of your day. Subscribe to the channel that say Lashid for you receipts. Subscribe to that channel. And yeah, so even if it means me day by day, look what I found today. That's how we'll do it. Next time, perhaps I'll talk about Nephilim. And I got a big folder. I got a big folder on the Nephilims. I don't know why, but maybe next time we'll talk about that and my beliefs in regards to that. So let me check out the rest of Truth Unedited. I suggest you guys subscribe to his channel and check out his videos, and I will get back to you guys later. Peace and love, family.